Boys and girls, I don't know what we're doing. We're doing sweet transposon.
You know what I just realized your icon looks like from the title screen?
What?
It looks like a sailboat.
What?
I don't know. It looked like a sailboat.
Oh, it was a picture of Tim Curry from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Now I want to get back to that picture to see what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant the letters. Just the way they looked. It looked like a sailboat. Never mind.
Okay. We'll have to see.
I am out of it. Don't listen to me.
I have no idea what it means. Wonder if Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm pretty sure that this will get me a copyright strike. Like nothing else, right? But
depends on how.
I found out this today, Scott. I found out there are youth in America who have not seen Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's a sad thing.
Yeah.
You think they'll ever do a remake, or have they tried to do a remake?
Oh, you wouldn't want to do that. That would bring an uproar, and I would be right out there protesting right in line. It's like, no, you don't do a remake on Rocky. Nope. Especially now that Meatloaf is gone, right? So the guy on the left is the guy I think that wrote it, and I think he was responsible for it.
Wow.
Whatever his name is. But I don't know if this is the part. Let's
imagine.
Can you hear?
Oh yeah, it's very loud.
Yeah.
Oh, it's loud? Okay,
it's
so I want to start it right at the beginning.
You're spaced out on sensation, like you're under sedation.
Anyway, okay. That's the greatest opera ever created. I mean, this is like something you've got to see. You haven't lived.
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent. I watched it. The problem is, if you haven't watched it like all the way through a couple of times, it tends to grab you, and once it grabs you, it'll never leave you. It's just unbelievable. The whole effect of the thing is just has. I don't know, Scott. What do you think of it? Did you watch it all the way through more than once?
Not very much. No, okay. For whatever reason. I like by the time I got married, like my wife was way too conventional. My ex-wife was way too conventional.
Wait a minute. Are you saying this is unconventional?
For her, yes.
I don't know what you mean.
For me, it should have been.
Hey, Andrew, how are you? What's going on, guys?
I'm good.
David,
how are you?
We missed you yesterday.
I know. I apologize. I was just so busy. I just couldn't make it.
Well, that's fine. That's real life, Sometimes it interferes with the fun stuff.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So how long did you and Leo Filius take over the Grr streams?
Yeah, we just chatted for a little bit. Yeah, it's good. Actually, a good conversation. We were
I
just
think
the three of us were chatting. That's all.
I think Leo, didn't you release like something on the what's it
The cosmological, or
yeah
right? Yeah.
the no
Kalam, sorry,
the
Kalam.
theorem the theorem today, I think the
Oh, I might know. I don't think
BGB.
I saw that. I don't think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to watch that because that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
I didn't either. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Because that's one thing they always bring up, how like the universe either must have a beginning, aka by God, or it's eternal and yada yada yada. So
Yeah.
probably has to do with that.
Yeah.
Well, the BGB theorem. Let's go ahead.
Oh, did I get the acronym right?
Yeah. Theorem
Yay.
does not prove the universe has a
I'm
beginning.
happy.
Yeah, this whole idea, like even talking about the universe having a beginning, means that you don't know what you're talking about right from the beginning.
Ha ha ha.
It indicates you don't know what you're talking about. And
Well, how's Gurr? No Gurr here around? No.
why?
He's
Why,
still streaming,
He's
isn't he?
still doing a stream, I think.
Oh, is he still alive? Oh, I left. I have my grandchildren. I had to take off. I had grandchildren duty. So
Yeah. See if he's
So
still
that
doing
was you're back to the late night long streams again.
No, Gurr is done. So he quit.
Oh,
he did.
He realized that he can't compete with the likes of me. So he
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about Meatloaf in that movie. What is it? I can't want to say Little Shop of Horrors, but that's not it.
That's what my sister kept saying. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show. But there was an earlier movie, or maybe about the same time, called Americathon, where John Ritter, plays the American president. It's a comedy, kind of a post. I don't know if it's a post-apocalypse or just a futuristic view of what America will be like, and you have Meatloaf playing a guy who goes around just as kind of a sideshow, destroying regular cars because they're all either on bicycle or whatever, and so it's a really funny movie, and Meatloaf's bit is real funny.
So Vesta gets it, okay?
Oh
yeah, she does.
She knows the cult.
Just to fill you guys in too, I got computer problems also too. I think I need to go shopping for a new computer this week.
Did it involve your granddaughter wrapping it in duct tape?
Yeah, well, no, actually, no, but it was close to that, but no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I broke it, so it's like messed up.
Oh no.
Yeah. I just use a laptop, that's all and I dropped it. So it's kind of fucked up now. So
I use a laptop, but I never pick it up or take it anywhere. I use it like a PC.
Yeah.
But, it's got more power than a lot of PCs that are within my price range. Well, so I thought, well, okay, I'll just take it, and it's got a lot of memory. So
yeah.
You guys don't take your laptops around? What, are you crazy?
I know, I do. That's what I do. Well,
there is no one around, remember?
Yeah, well, with me, you know how it is with me. I got freaking kids, all over the place. So I got to try to find a quiet place, and I have to hide, and
I've got my Mac.
Really follows me all the time. Yeah.
My Mac laptop is plugged into 4 different things plus a power supply, and unplugging it is just something I don't do. So I use it like a desktop. So
yeah.
Speeds PCR become brain.
All right, let me ask you guys, what do you guys think? Like when I with a laptop, is it always good and you don't like leave it plugged in all the time because you fuck up the battery?
I leave mine plugged in all the time. Apple has a new thing now. I don't know if I know it applies to their phone, but they have a cycling charge thing where they'll only charge it up to 80% once in a while and let it drop back down.
Yeah,
and I think they do on their. I think they do on their Macs too. But I've had my Mac plugged in. This is a 2019. I've had it plugged in since then. So.
Because my old laptop, I did that. I would leave it plugged in a lot, and now the battery's no good. I mean, well, the computer's no good either. But
my
it
2014
won't work. It won't work without being plugged in. The computer still works, but yeah.
I had my 2014 in the library hooked up to another computer, and then I just didn't use it for like 9 months, and I went and turned it on. It doesn't work anymore. The battery won't take a charge at all. So
yeah, that's what this is, right?
Dead.
Yeah. It'll work if you can plug it in, and it'll work, but it won't work.
No, even plugged in, it won't work. Nothing works.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
mine does. Mine continues to work. I can
Well,
still
it's
actually
easy
use
to get a battery replaced.
I got to take it in and see what they can do with it.
Yeah.
But
I
anyway,
wonder if we're gonna summon Maddox with all our talk about computers and whatnot.
hopefully, yeah, and information.
Oh, and I also want to spill the beans too, Speed. We were, me and Gur were planning a. We were going to play with you a little bit, like, because me, I never miss any of your streams, and I missed yesterday. I missed yesterday. I was busy. That's all. It was nothing. And and I was over at Gur's stream today, so we were going to play games with and say I quit and I moved to the dark side and like.
Yeah.
I was trying to plan something. I'm like, I said, girl, we got some ammunition. Let's fool around with Speed.
You're gonna cancel it.
Yeah.
You're gonna cancel me because I have this Scott Duke guy on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really dragging your channel down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you missed yesterday is so we were talking with Rebecca about the whole thing with Peter.
Did she come on? She came on.
She came on. Yeah.
She did.
She was asking.
That woman comes on when I'm not around. Like every stream that I've missed, she comes on.
Yeah, she doesn't like
strangest. Yeah, I think that's what I think it is. She probably sits and waits. As soon as I'm gone, she comes on. Yeah, she hates me. Yeah. Well, she said I was the devil. Remember? That was she blamed all of.
That's right. Right.
God, yeah. All of evil in the whole world because I don't.
Yeah, you almost.
Yep.
Yeah, you almost went after her on that one. But we were talking about me canceling Gur streams, and how me and Gur had this fight, and she actually thought we were actually having some sort of a diff.
She still thought that, yeah.
Yeah.
Still thought that, yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we explained to her it was a joke.
Yeah.
And then she was asking what Gur did, and I said, well, he was on that praise stream when they were going after Amy Newman, and I came up with a really apt analogy that I don't think Gur liked too much. I said that basically it's like, okay, if Gur's on the sidewalk and then there's somebody in the street bludgeoning somebody to death, Gur just says, "Oh well," and
walks by. Yeah, walks by.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, you can't blame him, right? He didn't want to get blood on his clothes.
Yeah,
you can't blame him for that.
Yeah,
I don't know. So anyway, that's what he did. He didn't bludgeon anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I draw the line. I wouldn't let the guy that bludgeoned somebody onto my stream, but I will let the guy that just whistles and walks off.
Walks by. Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going on in his life. Why he wouldn't want to intervene. I don't know.
Wait.
So what else? Anything interesting to?
You got
say anything interesting?
LPP did a stream last night and I guess somebody told me that somewhere in the stream he said something about how disappointed he was that I didn't talk about Perry Marshall for more than 30 seconds. Was that you, Andrew?
Yeah. It was way past the point you're at right now, I think.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, so I didn't hear that part, but it's kind of funny that John is complaining. But, you can kind of sum up Perry Marshall in 30 seconds, so I don't really understand what else he wants me to do about the guy. The guy has...
One of his statements in the whole PZ Myers debate discussion kind of leads me to think that he doesn't really understand what biological fitness is.
Yeah, there's that, and he doesn't seem
Because
to
I mean, one of the things he said was like the bacteria is getting better over time, or it was something like more nuanced or just
Yeah,
uh,
he said that a number of times.
yeah,
That-
like it was really cringe.
Yeah, and then he was talking about who was it, Dubjansky or whatever, that did the experiments on irradiating fruit flies, and the fruit flies didn't get better. You know, when you blasted them with radiation, they didn't get better. And he was always talking about evolution like it had a direction, one way or the other.
Does he actually think like mutations give you superpowers or something?
I think he expected the fruit fly to grow a new limb or like a propeller on its ass or something so it could fly faster. I don't know what he
Do you
expected.
think these guys? I mean, I don't know him at all, right? But do you think these guys are like they just don't learn the correct, you know,
Well, it's,
the correct understanding of it because they don't believe it, so they don't give a shit. Like, you know.
Well, not to go too much on him because he is an engineer, I think. So
Yeah,
so maybe he hasn't really studied in the area that much.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
well, he wrote a book, about biology, so he
I
should
know.
have.
That is true. That is true.
This is strange how these guys go into a completely different field and want to discuss the shit, and they don't really have a full understanding of it. Like, yeah.
And then they talk about how the evolutionist is unwilling to think outside the box, and yet when you'll find a lot of engineers that bring their engineer's box to biology,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
think
exactly.
of
Yeah.
biology in terms of engineering.
Yeah, and
Well, this
design, yeah.
I mean, this is one thing that really gets me because they say, well, they often call us skeptics, right? But like they make it sound as if skepticism or you're being a skeptic, you're being closed-minded, or
Right.
they make it sound like you need to be completely open-minded, aka gullible to different ideas willy-nilly.
Yeah.
I mean, like skepticism is kind of in between, and I don't know, it
Right.
just really seems.
Yeah, they
It's a-
don't even have an understanding of skepticism. They think it's like you dismiss everything, right? That's what they think.
Yeah.
They think you just you're not open-minded at all. You just dismiss everything. Yeah.
Right.
Rational process. You don't just lose all reason and believe that,
Yeah.
moon landing was staged in Hollywood.
There's always that tagline at the end, with good reason. I believe X with good reason, or without good reason.
Good way to describe it is say you just use freaking common sense. Like
Right.
not a complete dismissal of everything. You use common sense of what actually makes sense.
So SFT got into it with that Peter guy.
Oh, Pete. Oh, really? Yeah.
Peter.
He was battling with Mark Drysdale, right? Mark.
Yeah. About transposons and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And he was also battling with that Peter guy because that Peter, what is the name of his site? I forgot the name of it.
And he's a Christian too, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's a creationist. I think he's a young Earth creationist.
He has. But
the Paleologos. Yeah, I asked him. He said he's a creationist.
Mm-hmm.
But is he a young Earth creationist?
Yes, he said that too.
Yeah, but he just has a totally different view. I didn't catch a lot of it to really get a good understanding of his position, but
yeah, I haven't thought enough of it because
totally different.
I will say before we move forward with the video here, it's there was a generally hilarious part. I will give SFT some credit for humor here because Jungle Jargon was like he was continuously over talking Mark, and SFT was kind of having enough of it, and he was trying to change the subject back to it. It was hilarious when I watched it. So I will give him props for humor there with Gurr.
Yeah, Jungle Jargon. He's insufferable. It's really tough to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, there were just a few parts I looked at here. This is one of them. Now I'm trying to understand. Okay, first of all, okay, SFT is going on about how human endogenous retroviruses are totally functional, right?
Right.
And he produced a bunch of papers here, which I'm showing on the screen. So if I can put them up, he's got his little slideshow, right? And these are the same papers he's been showing forever.
So does
Well,
he use the
you
word
say
totally
papers,
functional?
even though some of those are from like evolution news and whatnot.
Yeah.
So does he use the word totally functional?
I don't know if he says, does he say that? I don't know if he does it exactly that way, but he certainly implies that it's completely functional, right? That
Yeah.
they're all,
So what does he mean? Is it like 85% functional, 10% functional? What does he think it is? Because to say it's totally functional, I just don't see how you can get away with saying that, because there are many of them that have not been documented to do anything.
Or worse, ones we have documented that have no good function.
Yeah, and then talk about skeptic or whatever, or anti-skeptic. Just because you think it's that way doesn't mean it's that you can rationally say that. You can only say that X% have been documented to have I don't know if the function or purpose or whatever is the right word, but
I mean, some of them are active,
going beyond what the data shows.
I don't think the ERVs are active anymore.
Oh, they are?
No, I'm not sure. Well, I found a paper that said the only active transposons in the human genome are line 1s, ALUs, and these the SAVs or SRVs, I think, something like that. It's some kind of sure-tail thing. And those are the only ones that are still active. So I don't think so I think maybe all of the ERVs are a done deal.
Like, I mean, this is always the thing that needs to be hit home. Like, is it just doing something, or is it doing something necessary for the organism?
Right. Well, I found a paper. Okay, there are 8% of the human genome is endogenous retroviruses, which are different than ALU transposons and lines and all of that. And there are 98,000 ERVs in the human genome that we've mapped, right? So 98,000 of them somehow duplicated in the past, and they did a wide search on transcriptionally active ERVs, and they found that 119 of them were transcribed out of 98,000. Now that's just transcribed. That doesn't mean that they're functional. Right. It means that there's somewhere where they get transcribed into RNA. And so that's 1 in 823, or 0.12%. So 12% of 1%, or 0.0012, have been shown to be transcribed. And the rest are apparently, they can't even find them to be transcribed. So how could they be functional if they aren't even transcribed? Anyway, and that was just in a quick search to figure out functionality. And now if you search the papers, you'll find you'll find maybe a dozen or 2 dozen that we have found function for, and we found one HERV, human endogenous retrovirus, that's functional in the development of the placenta. And this thing is highly mutated, and it goes way back, probably to the beginning of, before placental mammals, or placental animals. And that had an effect. And this is exactly what we would expect for evolution, that a very, very, like something like 0.0012% or 0.12% would be somehow have a function, right? Beneficial mutations are very rare, and they run about maybe 0.1% or less. And that's kind of what we would find. And that's just exactly what you'd expect from evolution. So, but SFT keeps talking about this, the trajectory, we found one that's functional. Now we found another that's functional. So the trajectory is that we're all 98,000 are functional. That isn't how trajectory works. That's like I stepped up on the first stair. I stepped up on the second stair. So the trajectory is that I'm going to the moon. You know?
Right.
No, I'm just going to go upstairs if I'm lucky. That's it.
Well, the thing about it is the trajectory going somewhere in a way that we have good reason to expect it going that way.
Right.
Because like with the stairs, for example, or like the analogy often made with like going to the moon of like small changes accumulating in evolution, but like for the genome, we don't have, well, at least not right now, good reason to suspect that all of it is entirely functional. So the trajectory is limited in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason to expect it to be functional because it's just based on what these things are and how they work.
I mean, have creationists actually like come up with a good reason why plants, for example, like differ so much in genome size because of genome duplication events and whatnot?
They don't like to talk about plants.
Oh.
And then plants and transposons, they don't want to talk about that because plants are just filthy with transposons. I mean, massive amounts of the genome basically are transposons in plants, and there's just all different species. And
seems like their view is almost human-centric in that way too.
Well, then I'm trying to figure out, okay, so we were talking earlier today, Andrew, about coming up with steel manning their idea, right? So they believe that viruses were created by God in Adam and Eve for a purpose. That all of these
do not try to steel man because that could cause brain damage for sure.
You think?
Yeah.
But anyway, just listen to this part right here, and we want to talk about it.
Is that interestingly enough, we have more viruses in and on our bodies than we do cells. How many cells do we have? Over 10 trillion. Well, what are they doing there? What are all these viruses doing there? They're not killing us. That's because most viruses and viral-like elements are good. They're beneficial. They're healthy for the ecosystem. In our bodies, all of these viruses, we need them to help regulate the number of species of bacteria that we have in our bodies, because we also have more bacteria in and on our bodies than we do cells. You would not want to live on a planet or in a world that had no viruses. Now, of course, when viruses or viral-like elements go rogue.
Well, I mean, viruses are pretty specific to a specific host. Like they can jump sometimes, but like probably most of the viruses you encounter are for a pig or something.
He's
right?
responding. He's responding to Mark Drysdale asking about transposons, and then he starts talking about viruses, which are outside of our body, right? They're not in our genome. They basically infect our cells.
Right. Yeah.
There's two different things here. Retroviruses are a particular kind of virus, that basically jumps into our cell. We get infected with a retrovirus, and it commandeers our cell's machinery and reproduces itself, and sometimes kills us in the process. Or at least makes our nose run or whatever. And then he's conflating that with. So when he was asked about, transposons, and I would have to back up a little bit probably to find the Mark Drysdale part.
Well, just one other thing, like he said viruses are there to exterminate all the bad bacteria, but like,
yeah,
isn't that kind of like cherry picking? Because viruses, a lot of them that infect lots of different things, including humans, and they're not so good. So like that's kind of failing to see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, was it Mark Drysdale that was talking about death? Basically, when you say there was no death before man sinned, before Eve and Adam sinned, that there was no death, that means you couldn't even step on a fly. That means you couldn't even step on a virus or a fucking bacteria, right? So no death at all. Death wouldn't have been possible.
Or one of your cells couldn't die.
Right. Yeah, no apoptosis. So.
Right.
And we know that's necessary. You're going to have webbed hands for sure.
Right, yeah. Or
right?
Well, because God created them out of dirt originally.
But okay, so So let me just play a little more and see if he elaborates.
And a lot of these jumping genes can, or let's say a mutation, deleterious mutation hits a virus or a viral-like element, or a virus jumps species, crosses species, and the species that it jumps to, that species can.
Okay, so he's talking about transposons, which jump inside of your genome, right? And then he's conflating that with viruses that jump from species to species.
Wait, okay, can we hear that again?
Yeah, let's. Okay, let me go back.
I want to hear that again.
Let's go back to the. Should we go back just a little bit before and see what Mark is asking?
Sure.
Okay, external viruses. So we're at 21, and I think if I go back, let's try 15 seconds.
Viruses in general. John, if you can share screen, I'm just going to keep it on this one screen with about four papers demonstrating the functionality of ERVs. Like you said, Mark, they are necessary to sustain healthy life processes in the cell, just like allele sequences, pseudogenes, so on and so forth. So here's the thing: what we know about viruses in general, and
pseudogenes are pseudogenes because they have not been found to be functional. And did you see what he just worked that in? That pseudogenes were found to be functional. No, it's called a pseudogene because it's not functional.
I mean, a lot of pseudogenes, don't they have like stop codons in between them that make them non-functional?
Yeah, that they're not expressed at all. You know, they don't have a promoter, or they have some sort of they're broken in some manner, and we know that. But he just throws that in there. But
you can do a quick Google search on this if you'd like to as well, Mark. Is that interestingly enough, we have more viruses in and on our bodies than we do cells. How many cells do we have? Over 10 trillion. Well, what are they doing then? What are all these viruses doing there? They're not killing us. That's because most viruses and viral-like elements are good. They're
except for the ones that do kill us.
Right. Or kill other things.
The ecosystem in our bodies. All of these viruses, we need them to help regulate the number of species of bacteria that we have in our bodies, because we also have more bacteria in and on our bodies than we do cells. You would not want to live on a planet or in a world that had no viruses. Now, of course, when viruses or viral-like elements go rogue in your genetics, because they can, a lot of these jumping genes can, or let's say a mutation, deleterious mutation hits a virus or a viral-like element, or a virus jumps species, crosses species, and the species that it jumps to, that species cannot, regulate it, and therefore that virus burns hot and fast, and it becomes bad. Well, it was originally good. So the point is, and the prediction we make is, why do we share viral-like elements? Why do we share? Here's another one, allele sequences. Allele sequences. Why do we share these with, let's say, the chimpanzees or other primates? Well, again, we would predict it's because it's a common design feature. These were front-loaded. There's a whole model called the variation-inducing genetic element hypothesis that you can read about in technical creationist journals. So most viral-like elements and viruses.
He said technical creationist journals. Isn't that an oxymoron?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, transposons in basically transposons in animals and plants cannot jump outside of the cell. The only way to do that, we did it once experimentally. I think we added a couple of genes to it so that it could form an envelope, because they don't have the necessary genes to create a complete virus capsid and jump out and break open the cell and jump to another species. So he's confusing transposons with viruses. They're two different things.
I loved how he actually said that. Like, he says, well, I have the answer. We just look in creationist literature and we have all the answers because we just make the shit up.
Yeah.
It almost sounded like he's saying like a deleterious mutation occurred in a retrovirus, then it like inserted itself into a genome and got stuck there. And then when that made new viruses, then that got stuck in other cells that it jumped to. Like this is kind of all over the place.
Damn you, Gur. Anyway, yeah, he's so anyway, but so how the hell can we
Genes
see
jumping
that?
left and right.
So God created, okay, he created viruses which are outside of you, by basically independent viruses. And then he created some that were inside your genome, which just happened to share almost exactly the same genes as the ones outside of your genome, because God likes to reuse his toolkit, right? And then what? What is the purpose of a jumping gene in your genome? Like one of these guys somewhere, and I would love to find this clip in the last year, actually thought that the virus jumps into the placenta, like it moves in the genome from, I think it might have been raw mat or something, but it moves from one part of the genome to the other, and then it does something. Then it functions. No, that's not how that works. That thing is in the genome. It's in a static spot. It's fixed. It doesn't jump somewhere and then do something.
It's jumping between different places on the chromosomes between generations.
Right. The only way that it's going to end up in the population is if the jump occurs in the germline.
Right.
And that gets transmitted, and then that ends up taking over the population. And they conflate all this stuff all the time when they're doing their spiels, and they don't seem to understand what's really going on. But I mean, it is quite maddening to say the least.
And I know sometime in this after show, John went on his whole common design framework thing again, which we've talked about previously.
Oh, he did?
These creations, they are big on, conflating things. That's just like a great tactic of theirs, right? I mean, that's
they have a toolbox of different tactics.
Yeah, and that's one of them that is like hugely successful for them. Like, they're just really good at it, and it becomes.
It wouldn't really surprise me if they're like subconscious. They don't even realize they're using those specific tactics.
Yeah, that could be for sure. In some cases, for sure.
Yeah, in some cases,
especially with the SFT, because he just babbles. I don't know. He just goes on and on and on, like
he gish gallops.
Yeah. That's another tactic too. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to find a picture here.
Was there anything juicy in the stream? Do you have a bookmarks?
I got bookmarks here and there. I do have.
Yeah, David, you asked him if he's got bookmarks, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I knew he did, but I didn't know how much.
Chance.
Well, it was a long stream, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. It was like 6 or 7 hours, wasn't it, or something? Yeah.
Yeah. So you went on 2 GER streams, and you wouldn't even show up for mine yesterday.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
David,
I've gone to the dark side. I've been having issues. So I'm like,
I'm so disappointed. Bye, David.
That GER, he's a bad influence. Oh my God, that guy.
He is horrible.
You have been baptized by kick removal.
Yeah.
GER is a communazi.
Repent of your speed sins.
So this is kind of a classification system for retroviruses or transposons in general. And we have lines, signs, and processed pseudogenes are really interesting. Okay. A processed pseudogene doesn't have any introns, but it has all of the exons. So they know because of some other things, like the areas that flank the processed pseudogene, they can tell that it was caused by one of these viruses. And one of these viruses picked up a piece of RNA that had been transcribed and then spliced to get rid of all the introns, right? So it just had the important part for the protein. And then it basically got reversed back into the DNA. So it's like a gene without the introns, and that's a processed pseudogene.
That's
one
cool.
type. And I have a cat in the way. And then we have endogenous retroviruses. And this shows you, cat, could you please, Loki? I can't see through you.
Loki, the cat of mischief.
Yeah, I can't see through Loki. And I can't see that computer way over on the right. So anyway, you can see all the different genes that are in there. And what is not in there is, let's see, that envelope. So there's an EMV on the end, and that's the gene that creates the virus envelope, right? And these endogenous retroviruses do have that part of it, but they're lacking a few other things that allow them to actually create the entire virus and break out of the genome. And the GAG is the protein, or it's a protein coating that goes inside of the outside capsule. And I invited Dr. Dan because he knows more about viruses than I do, and he could explain these. And so each of these have, parts of the gene, and signs don't have any genes of their own at all. While they have, I think they have one or two. Now they have an open reading frame, but they don't have any genes. So signs have to steal all the mechanism from lines, and lines have, they have the what is it? Reverse transcriptase that can copy from RNA into DNA. So lines have that, and signs steal that from lines. And there's just a really interesting history. And we have these basic different types of transposons. And it becomes, these are, I think, the ones that are in humans or in mammals or vertebrates, but I'm not sure. There might be more. And there's another diagram here.
Just curious, do we know what percentage of the human genome is pseudogenes?
I think they found, it's very tiny. I think they found like, was it 13,000 pseudogenes?
Okay.
Something like that, or is it? Yeah, I think it's 13,000. And out of those,
I don't know why I thought it was more than protein coding genes.
That might be. It's close to more, because I think we found 10 or 13,000 protein coding genes that we know about. So there's a lot of pseudogenes. And there's, and a few of them were misclassified as pseudogenes, and we found out that they do indeed have some function in some tissue types.
This is what's insane to me. Like you have to, from a common design perspective, say that all of these individual genes and pseudogenes and retrovirus insertions were all designed in a very careful, specific way. And yet we have yet to see any of those specific functions for any of them.
Yeah, and we know that in our bodies right now, some of these active transposons may still do a jump in one of our somatic divisions, and it might end up causing cancer or causing some other disease. And we've seen that, where they actually happen in us now. So we know that they're jumping, and they're jumping not randomly, but stochastically. They're jumping into, like, some of them will find a particular targeted sequence. Some of them will find an area of DNA that is maybe guanine, cytosine, or GC rich. Some will find areas that are AT rich. And, there's just also, every one of these things has its own preferred place to jump, but it's not a specific location. And in order to be designed to have function, these things would have to know where they were jumping. They would have to jump into a very specific spot on the genome, and that would have to be preordained. And we found nothing in biology that ordains where these things are going to jump. All we found is they're going to jump into this area. They might land a little to the left, a little to the right, whatever. But, for the most part, and some of them are truly random. They can jump anywhere. They can jump right smack into the middle of an exon. They can screw up a protein and cause cancer. And we've seen that in the laboratory. They know that. So, I mean, their case for these being designed is so weak. God would have to, he threw in a random thing that randomly jumps around, and it's supposed to have a function. I don't know how they can support that.
Creationists have to propose basically that the entirety of the genome is like a giant interconnected spider web where everything is orchestrated in just such a way with everything else.
Right. And then the other remarkable thing about these transposons is because they do not have a function, they mutate. And we can look between us and chimpanzees, or us and gorillas, or us and fish, And we can see these same transposons, these same families, except that it creates a wonderful phylogeny. So it's a tool, it's a phylogenetic tool for
Right.
figuring out what we're closely related to. And,
So
and they
I would suspect that that's used for more recent species, right? Because since it's so highly variable.
No, they've gone back. It's not. I think they've gone way back to. Well, I'm not sure about that, Andrew, but I'm pretty sure they have done deep phylogenetic studies using transposons. But the other neat thing about them is that some of these transposons evolved from others. So they also have their own little phylogeny inside of all animals, where they can look at how these transposons are related to themselves, to each other, right?
Right.
And it just goes. Apparently, it's been going on for 300-400 million years, and we have this rich set of data. And transposons occupy almost 50% of our genome, and 49% of that is junk. For the most part.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's garbage. That doesn't mean it does nothing.
Well, I suspect that like different types of transposons mutate at different rates, right?
That I don't know about. I don't know anything about that.
Well,
but
something to look into.
Well, why would they though? Because it would be. I bet they don't, unless they're functional. Then they're going to be conserved, right? But that would be something worth looking into.
Yeah.
I've got a, let's see, where is it? I can throw it on here. I got a few papers that I downloaded on transposons. Just a couple. So that's part of that's my reading list. So I have a long way to go. But anyway, so because we did what is the name of I'm just a sweet transposon from Transsexual, Transylvania. Yep, I was hoping
folks, you're transposons.
I was hoping you wouldn't be offended by that and not show up, Andrew.
Oh, you want me to not show up?
No, that's not what I wanted. I was
okay.
I was hoping that wouldn't put you off.
You and your silly stream names.
I couldn't resist. Well, I get that from Gur. Gur makes me do that. So,
So did little Pee-Pee have anything?
He's
got to say at all. I mean, he doesn't really join in on these conversations will go on and on and on, and he just lets his guests, go on and.
He has his format, and every once in a while he kind of stamps part of the discussion to say owned by LPP or certified by LPP kind of thing. So it's his kind of discussion.
Yeah,
they got a little bit into politics right here. I just flagged this one.
Oh dear.
No. We're more likely to have the tanks wouldn't have Putin's tanks wouldn't have rolled if Trump was still in office.
Trump.
So Trump would have stopped the tanks. How would he
yeah, sure he would have.
How would he have done that?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Do you think he could have kept Putin out of Ukraine? The only way to keep Putin out of Ukraine would have been for us to give up every missile base in Europe.
Yeah,
I think, and the Middle East, which I don't think would have happened. So, no, I don't think there was any way to stop Putin, and I don't think Trump had a plan other than kissing his ass. So I thought that was interesting. Then let's see here. Show me an ERO. I love when we'll go back to SFT again. I love when he does this.
Have any empirical evidence for, and here's what's interesting. I've debated a number of biologists where I asked, can you show me a technical paper where we have a non-functional endogenous retrovirus going from something that's non-functional to something incredibly functional in the embryo, in determining cell types, regulating genes, so on and so forth. And they said this word for word. If I could present you with such a paper, I would, but I can't because it doesn't exist.
Right. Because we would have to, that's that bullshit again, that can you show me a paper that shows a limb being developed,
Right.
that shows a propeller growing out of the ass of a fruit fly.
Right. That's not
In
how
the
it works.
No. It just goes on. Anyway, what else do I got? I thought there's the annihilation apologist. I got a whole bunch of bookmarks, but I'm not sure what the hell they are. I thought this was interesting from Danny, and this is sort of nothing to do with biology, but this is that annihilation apologist.
And well, I'd be curious then for Danny to a similar question, slightly different then. Okay, so if you as an atheist, somebody who never, let's say, believed on Jesus and were born again, you were to die, but you had the choice to be completely annihilated. You no longer exist. Things are just like the way it was before you were born. Just done, or tormented day and night for eternity. Which one would you want?
Definitely the latter. Like, I don't understand why Jamie would say the former. Like,
I keep hearing these annihilation apologists saying the former. I mean, like, what?
Why? Why are they saying that?
It's ridiculous.
Okay, panel, my esteemed panel, what would you choose? Eternal torment, or to choose to have never existed? What would your choice be?
Never exist, of course.
Well, I don't like total overwhelming pain that lasts without hope of stopping. So I'd probably go with the never having been born.
Yeah,
An eternity of not doing or controlling anything, or just nothing at all. I'd probably say nothing. It just sounds slightly more appealing.
Yeah, and Danny, oh God, why would anybody choose the former? I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with that kid. I don't know. The only thing,
so he wants to be tormented.
He wants to be spanked. He wants to be spanked for eternity, but it isn't going to be fun like you think it is, Danny. I mean, we're talking about roasting you in fire. We're not talking about spanking you.
I think, he must be, he must be turned on by the spanking, and that's what's
like. I personally can't think of something, or maybe there are other things, but like it sounds really horrifying. Just imagining a place where you're experiencing tremendous pain for eternity, and like all of your pain receptors are just going off forever. Like, doesn't that sound really scary?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe that's just our evolutionary instincts coming in. I don't know.
Anyway,
based on what we know about biology, that's not even possible, right? I mean, you kind of you have mechanisms that just shut off, or you would.
Well, that's an interesting question. I wonder if anyone's looked into it. Evolutionarily, would we rather experience pain or death? I feel like we'd rather experience the former, because death just ends it, right? That doesn't seem favorable evolutionarily.
There's no way to experience just pleasure or just pain. The only way to experience is to alternate. Just like if the entire world was red and the only thing your eyes picked up is one shade of red, you would see nothing. You have to have a contrast in order to.
That's true. Yeah,
it's good point.
Yeah. So I spent way too many hours trying to figure out how to immerse myself in an entirely red world. But then I couldn't figure out how to get rid of the fact that I do see my nose and my eyelids and stuff like that, right? So I could never pull off the experiment, but I wanted to immerse myself in complete red so that I would
see your nose.
Yeah, everybody can see their nose. We usually just ignore it. But I don't know,
I can't see my nose. It's just like this funny blurry thing right here.
Everybody's crossing their eyes now.
Okay, close
I can
one
see it now.
close one eye and see if you can see your nose.
No, I can't see it.
Holy
if
shit!
I close my right eye, I can see my nose.
What are you, a pug?
It's like really fuzzy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird.
Anyway, okay. We usually cut it out, but I mean, there's things that interfere. So there are things that contrast.
I can see both my noses.
Really? Yeah, I have two noses. One on the right, one on the left. So anyway,
Did you like anything of our little buddy in the stream there, Redefine Living? He's a
oh my
he's
God.
a beaut, right?
Yeah.
Did you listen to
I
a little bit of
must
him?
have
Yeah.
bookmarked something from him.
I will
Yeah.
say real quick there, someone named Free Rebel entered the stream, and I think he was pretty reasonable and polite, at least the part I listened to. And
there
he
was
said
a-
he was a Christian. So
There was a guy, who was it? Stop the Op, and John threw him out.
oh,
I think it was Stop the
Oh.
Op. Or no, he left. John got pissy with him and he left. So this guy named Stop the Op.
That
Or
that
was
wasn't that guy that's the friggin' wacko that we talked about the other day. Wasn't him, was it?
he didn't seem
What
too
was his
wacky.
name? The hell was that guy's name? That we actually went and looked at his channel. I can't remember his name for
Yeah, I
some
remember
reason.
either.
The young kid. Remember we went and looked at his channel. He's like the flat earther guy, not him, right?
No. This Stop the Op guy, he was arguing with these guys about the flood, I think, is what it was. I've got a few
Yeah.
books.
That
Maybe
young kid that we talked about before, he changes his name a lot, right? Doesn't he? He's always using a different.
Oh, is that the raccoon one?
Yeah.
Will.
No, not Will. No, the other guy. The other guy that we just talked about. Remember, you went to his channel. He's the flat earther guy.
Oh shit! I
The
went to
kid,
sleep.
the one with the cop, right?
Alex
Remember
something.
what's his name? Remember the guy that you did a little short video and he was talking to the cop and he was going to have what do you call oh my God, I'm drawing a blank here.
While you're thinking of that, hey Top Dog,
He was
look
going
at
to
the
have
screen.
people come
The Karen guy. The Karen guy.
yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
But I can't remember his name.
Yeah. I
What
don't
the
know.
hell he went
Oh,
by.
I kind of remember what you're
The one
talking
that
about.
was talking to the cop and he was going to have not rebels. What's the word I'm looking for? The
The militia.
calling-
The
militia. Yeah, he was going to
Yeah,
have the
okay,
militia. That guy.
Yeah, that was a Karen video. No,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
hasn't.
Love militias.
Yeah, he was gonna.
Yeah.
He says, if the militia comes, and the cop said, no, you don't want the militia to come.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
Like no militia.
I can't remember his name.
What the hell were they talking about? It was like, so was it a hospital or something, or something he had a real problem with, that
Yeah.
they did something horrible. But I just wiped that shit out of my mind after I run it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I thought you were talking to him because John really keeps the trigger on him. Like he tosses him because he just gets to be too much. That guy.
Oh, you mean he's been on John's channel?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
a bunch of times. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, John lets him on, but yeah,
Holy shit.
he's kicked him out a few times too, I think. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got random timestamps here. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what's behind these
Yeah.
timestamps.
Throw something out there.
Behind door
Oh,
number
he created
14.
kinds, and from kinds came many species. But I just want to stick on this geological column for 1 second. Just pull up a diagram. I don't think John's there, so I'm not going to be able to screen share my slides here. But just have a look at the Precambrian, Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Mississippian, up to the Jurassic, Cretaceous, and up to the Pleistocene today, which we would say is post-flood, pre-flood versus post-flood. Just look at the types of creatures you find in each layer. For example, the starfish you were talking about, where are they found? The Ordovician, I think.
They're found in
I
all
don't know,
layers.
man, honestly.
Yeah, it's right near the bottom where the Cambrian is. Like I said, with ecological zonation, where the
No.
floodwaters.
What did he say? The starfish?
Yes, yeah.
Means
That's
when
Oh, ecological zonation is so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It just is.
So what's ecological zonation, and as opposed to what?
Like you have marine creatures, so they were buried first, and then things that lived kind of in the swamps, so amphibians, and then reptiles on the land, and then mammals and birds and stuff like that. That's pretty much ecological zonation, which of course does doesn't work in the real fossil record.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you
everybody-
timestamp?
like-
Did you timestamp when he was? I think this is right. Well, during this part of the conversation, he was talking. He brought up dinosaurs too. Oh, you know, dinosaurs can't run that fast, and insects would last a lot longer. They would be on the very top, and this and that. Like,
Yeah.
some of the shit
Wait,
he was
what?
saying, like, he,
Insects are found in the Carboniferous too. What are you talking about?
yeah. His view is a little, yeah.
Okay. Let's
Some of
play it.
maybe it's right here. I don't know. I remember him talking about
Might
that.
be.
Where the flood starts, found to the great deep, what's swept first and thrown onto the continents. Just go look at just a basic.
It might be
diagram.
close. It
It's
might
exactly
be close,
what we
but
would
it's still
expect.
not. It might be close, but it's still not. You can say close, man. But because it's not in the same layer, being close could prove your point. But the fact that it's not in the same layer could very well prove punctuated equilibrium.
Well, punctuated equilibrium. Well, then I understand you're not an evolutionist.
No,
But it was
not at all.
originally invoked as a rescue device for why we find such a significant lack of transitional fossils. Like, well, maybe evolution works slowly, works in spurts. So I don't know if that's something you really want to adopt. I mean, it's kind of it was very. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, punctuated equilibrium also explains, it also kind of contradicts Darwinism at the exact same time, because it says that evolution doesn't happen from a bottom up standpoint. It says that no, things degrade over time. They appear before they go.
No. For those who don't know what punctuated equilibrium is, it's basically when evolution is rapid thanks to things like geographic speciation, basically, and that leads to the fossil record that we see instead of just incremental change, which we also see. So both happen.
Oh, he's talking about the Punnett square that Ramat got wrong. Yeah, that was pretty good. Dr. Dan, I sent you a link, Dr. Dan.
Please come enter.
Anyway, okay. Let's see what this is an interesting comment. So stop the op. I'm not sure what point he's trying to make, but he claims not to be an evolutionist, claiming that punctuated equilibrium works against evolution, which it doesn't. Anyway. Well, listen.
Sterile, and then they go extinct, and then more things appear again. So it doesn't necessarily go from a bottom up standpoint. Like every mutation is a good mutation.
Okay, bottom up. What is he saying?
Wait, does he think punctuated equilibrium is like catastrophism? Like just things suddenly created, then they go extinct, then more are created, then they go extinct? Like, no.
This guy seems fairly almost more intelligent than SFT. But then I'm not sure what the hell he's saying. They didn't give a chance to really elaborate. I would have to go back. I didn't listen to all of his content. But let's see where he goes. Okay,
the evolution doesn't happen from a bottom up standpoint. It says that no, things degrade over time. They appear before they go sterile, and then they go extinct, and then more things appear again. So it doesn't necessarily go from a bottom up standpoint. Like every mutation is a good mutation. That's not even true.
Okay, so is he saying that punctuated equilibrium creates a new organism because the old ones went extinct?
Right. Yeah. He's thinking it's more like Cuvier's catastrophism, or things
or
like
maybe like niche, like
yeah,
find niches or something. I don't know.
Things appear then go extinct, etc. Like no.
Yeah, but they get.
Do they think that every life form is going to go sterile and go extinct?
Yeah,
that's what they believe. Like entropy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, Top Dog, I went and looked at your Hydra thing, your Hydra link. That's pretty cool. There's some videos and some papers on Hydras on Top Dog.
Oh, Hydras.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
Interesting. Okay.
So it still does contradict Darwinism as much as they used it as a rescue device to try to explain the lack of, they don't even use it to explain the lack of precursor fossils. They used to explain the lack of gradualism, to explain the mutation, the waiting time problem is what they used it for. But it still contradicts Darwinism as far as mutation not being a positive thing.
So is this guy just like mixing up a vocabulary words and putting them in a vat?
I'm sorry. It sounds so wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can tell basically because I've spent so much time on Speed's channel. I can tell when these words aren't going together right, and I wonder if somebody's using Elmer's glue and newspaper cuttings to string those sentences together.
Well, they do see what they want.
That's true.
These young Earth creationists. Have you ever heard them actually be right on something, Andrew? You say they sound so wrong. Well, that's normal.
That's true. Well, I mean, right on maybe some basic things, but when I say they're just wrong, I mean it a deeper sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You probably know what I mean.
Yep.
I want to get to the part where John goes off on
maybe ridiculous would be a good synonym.
That's good. I'd like to hear that. Yeah, go ahead. Speak.
I think it's coming up. I don't think it's too long.
But it's the evidence, man. I think that Stephen Gould came up with that as a controlled opposition to just try to come up with to steal the talking points, man.
Yeah, he did, but the problem is if you're going to use that terminology in a discussion with an evolutionist, they're going to embrace it because they're familiar with that being associated with their position.
I know.
So one of the things that I noticed about this conversation is that the other members of the panel were trying to tell this stop the op that you can't say certain things. You have to argue a certain way, otherwise you're going to lose the argument. Which is kind of like they're
I've heard them say that before. Yeah, I've heard them talk about that before. When it's just room full of Christians, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yep. They seem to have that mindset.
They know. Yeah, it's all tactics with these guys.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with science. It's about believing the Bible. Period.
Yeah.
Why don't they
only if they visited my site.
Why aren't they honest about that? That they just believe the Bible and don't believe anything else.
Yeah, and it's all about winning arguments. All these, the young Earth creationists, but it's all about just winning an argument with an atheist, or an evolutionist or evolutionist.
It's about conversion, is what it is.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
So let's see, 45 seconds, and then I'm gonna go look and see how much we're in for here.
No, that's why it's a controlled op, because it's got.
It's almost self-refuting to bring that up. I understand what you're saying. So the way that we would address that is we would appeal to stasis, not the punctuated equilibrium. We would say, hey, look, just like I asked you why punctuated equilibrium.
Dannykins, pause. Does he not know that stasis is part of punctuated equilibrium?
Yeah.
That is
redefine
living. You amaze me again.
No, he is amazing all the time. Okay, we got 30 seconds left.
The punctuated equilibrium is a rescuing device because of the stasis that is observed.
Yeah, but it also contradicts Darwinism with the whole mutation being not being a good thing. And I didn't mean to be hyperbolic when I said, young Earth creationists thinks the Earth was just like shooking around like a snow globe. That's not what I meant, man. What I meant was if there was a sudden, we're talking instantly, that everything was completely, we would see the exact same thing that we see now, except we would see more intermingling between the layers. It wouldn't be such abrupt one thing and then another thing. We would see more of a mingling. We can point out one thing like a coelacanth where something's still alive, but we can't point out macrofossils in the Precambrian. We can't point out at the very least jawed fish in the Precambrian, and at the very least with the first sudden appearance of land.
We wouldn't expect it. Just pull up your geological column diagram and have a look at the Cambrian all the way up to the Jurassic, all the way up to the what we would say is post-flood rocks, Pleistocene, or even the Miocene. We wouldn't expect to find anything.
What about, man, what about there's more than just a couple layers, man. What about the Orvodian explosion? We wouldn't find any of these 50,000.
What is the Orvodian explosion?
Orvodian explosion.
Ordovician?
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, the GOBE. Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe he's talking about like the Ediacaran fossils, how they kind of mini explosion before the Cambrian.
I think he mispronounced Ordovician.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, because yeah, he sent me Googling for that. Like, what the fuck is that? I hadn't heard of that
Yeah.
one.
Well, at the very least, he is making a good point here. At least,
yeah, he sounds. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out what point he's making, and I was hoping they'd let him, but I think it went south. Let's see here.
And flying insects in the layer right before that, like all these land plants we wouldn't find in the layer right before that. They literally existed side by side, and we wouldn't find them in the layer right before that.
Why would you expect flying insects to die at the same time as things that are crawling around on the ground? That doesn't even make sense.
The same reason why we would expect things at the bottom of the ocean living together would at least be fossilized in the same layers, man. These are literally different.
Are you telling me that if you were out in the wilderness and it started to rain, and are you telling me that you would be buried at the same level as like a slug or a worm or something? You know what I mean? You're gonna move to high ground.
Yeah.
A bug is gonna fly.
Didn't you say things that live together die together? Isn't that the whole theory of things that live together die together? The fossil, a sudden
stop. That doesn't even make sense.
Sudden fossilization, the sudden flood, things that live together die at the exact.
What? Okay, I think this is where John comes in.
Oh boy.
Yeah, listen.
Hang on, gentlemen. Okay, listen. Let's boil this down. Okay, let's go back to the point that Sam was making.
Logic.
We're talking hypotheticals here. Okay. You are out wherever. The river is coming towards you because it's overflowing.
We're talking about sudden flood, right? We're not talking about a time to run.
The river is coming toward you. What? The river is coming. You're out, and the river is coming toward
you. Yes.
Yeah. What the?
Doesn't it just flow? It doesn't. Yeah.
I don't know. The river.
It's coming at you. Yep.
Yeah. It's coming at you. The river's coming.
Duck, quick.
Okay.
On the higher ground. We're talking about a sudden flood event, right?
Bible doesn't say sudden flood, dude.
Dude, in a flash flood.
That should prove my point even more. We should find things.
Okay, dude, shut up and listen. Okay, let's think about this logically.
Shut up.
Okay, in the context of the flood that was being discussed in this current moment, are you operating from the position that every inch of the Earth's surface was instantaneously covered with water?
No, I'm going with both. I'm honestly trying to take both directions because if at no direction, whether it was flooded.
Hang on. I asked you this question very specific. We're gonna go down a logic.
Let's go both. Let's go both. An instant flood and one that took place over time.
Okay, we're gonna go. Do you think that an instant flood is actually plausible? Yes or no?
Isn't that what they think?
That would be the only way that this story.
I kind of thought that's what they thought, but
no, because it rained.
Oh,
was it
yeah,
40 days and 40 nights? Or is that Scott? Help me out on that. What was?
Yeah,
so
40 days, 40 nights. It lasted about a year,
and then it lasted a year, right? Yeah. So.
Well, they think the like tsunami washed up and just like sequentially buried stuff, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, the
it just moved across the continent.
Yeah, the fountains of the deep broke through the crust, right, and pushed the continents, apart. And the fountains of the deep opened up, and they talk about tsunamis, like in this one flood video, they show tsunamis 700 feet high. So all of that happened. And how does that mesh with a gradual?
Yes. Orge, it is your turn. Come in.
Yeah.
Geology.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, but let's just listen to a few minutes here.
Okay.
Story would make sense.
Put the link out, Scott.
All the way up to the top.
Which story would make sense?
That's the only way that the reason why species aren't fossilized together. It would have to be. Actually, no. It would have to be a gradual thing.
Okay, cool. So again, we're going to clarify. Do you think that an instant flood is plausible?
No.
This is a pretty simple question.
Let me pause this real quick.
No, it's not plausible.
They believe that the Earth's crust broke up and went 35, 45 miles an hour, and scooted along, and their flood. They have to think about it as being so fast that it is pretty much instantaneous. Things did not trickle in and start.
Things didn't have time to run to us.
Yeah, within 30 days at least. Most of the world was totally covered with water.
I really wanted to hear that part about when I think it was SFT. See, the SFT of Redefined Living. They were talking about that, like, dinosaurs can't run as fast and something. I can't remember how he described it, but it was like, wow,
probably prior.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. It just seems silly for them to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it would happen so fast. It would have to pretty much be in what we would think of as instantaneous.
Danny is clarifying what he actually meant last night.
I just thought, I would figure that, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Danny. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we were a little confused. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that clears it up. So you misspoke. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I apologize for the spanking thing. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was joking, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't. Well, I was wondering.
I know.
Wait.
I was wondering what he was talking about. It didn't make any.
Everyone, before we keep going, let us. Oh, never mind. He left.
Okay.
Oh well. When Orge gets back, let's acknowledge he's in the room.
Is Orge back? He's here, isn't he?
Yeah. He said he's going somewhere for a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Let's roll this. It's coming up here.
If the heavens look, man, I live in Florida. Listen. So what you say by instant, man, I live in Florida, bro. We can get 8 inches of water in a matter of no time. So to say, do I think the sky can open up and we could be in 10 feet of water in fucking no time? Yes, that to me is fucking instant.
Dude, everything's gonna start. Dude, no. We're gonna go down a pathway. Is it plausible for every inch of not really fast from a perception perspective? Oh yeah, it seems like it was just a minute ago. There was no water, and now there is. I'm talking about in a real time from right now it's dry, now it's covered. Okay.
Dude, do you know what a flash flood? Do you know what a flash flood is, homie?
Dude,
you don't think that's possible? Okay. You don't think a flash flood's possible?
Homie.
Everybody shut the fuck up, okay?
Whoa.
Careful here, dude. I literally live in Nashville, where the entire city was underwater. Okay.
So flash floods are possible then. So you agree?
No, dude, shut the fuck up, man. You are really pissing me off. Okay. We're gonna be very literal here. Okay. So a flash flood does not instantaneously cover an entire surface area, does it? Please don't tell me you're actually this fucking stupid.
So you don't think we can have fucking 3 feet of water, 5 feet of water in a day?
Dumbass, you're about to get kicked the fuck out of the room.
Bye, bro. Flash floods are fake, bro. You're right.
In a real world scenario,
then he leaves. So John was really he's really gentle with his fellow Christians, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's such an ass.
Yeah, anyway, that was the end
he
of that.
just acts like he knows it all, right? I mean, what a know-it-all. Holy shit. Yeah. Everybody's a dumbass, according to John.
Yeah. But they talk about this, what is it? The great deeps opening up. I mean, they're talking about like this huge thing that moved the continents. Okay, there was a lot of water coming out of that, and it had to be these tsunamis. And so the guy has a point, right? I mean,
isn't it based on like the Hebrew description of the universe with like water inside the great deep and then above the firmament, like basically a giant snow globe kind of thing?
Pretty much.
They have, God, and they've spent so much time on these models. I wish somebody could point me to a really good book where they really work hard on this model, the flood model, so that I could like something in depth. Does anybody know of a book where they've really?
Do you just not watch The Creationists on YouTube and all of their glorious work that all of the stupid big dummy scientists choose to ignore?
I mean, somebody must have done a technical book on the flood model, right?
I don't
like
know.
50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't it like the original flood geology work by Morris and
Yeah, Whitcomb and Morris.
yeah,
and they haven't done anything since.
So I mean, I just googled books on Nowaki and flood geology, and what we got here: The Flood in the Light of the Bible, Geology and Archaeology by Alfred Rehwinkel, A Flood of Evidence by Ken Ham and Bodie Hodge, if I'm getting that right. Noah's
Don't
Flood
read that.
Yeah, don't get
Discoveries
that
about
one.
the event that changed history by William Ryan and Walter Pittman. Yeah, you just got to Google. You just got to look for the books.
Yeah,
So
but I
on the
mean,
trail of ice age floods.
Do some
Earth
research. Go
a
Google.
lot of them are just fluff. Just fluff.
Well, I mean, but that's what you're going to get. I mean, if you're expecting like a legitimate and highly respected academic book on Nowaki and flood geology, then you're wasting your fucking time because
Really?
you're not going to find that. What makes you
Noakian?
think you would?
okay, but
No,
yeah,
before we
is that a
keep
word?
going,
Referring to Noah's flood, Noakian.
Is that a-
Just
is that
like
a word?
Mosaic refers to Moses,
Yeah, they
Jesuit
call it-
refers to
they call it
Jesus,
Noakian.
Nowaki refers to
Yeah,
Noah.
they-
It's
Wouldn't it be just
okay,
no,
before we keep going, I want to acknowledge that Jason and Leo here, and also that Orge is back. Hey, Orge.
Hey,
Hola.
hey, Jason, and hello, Sir Leophilius.
So, Orge, you know all about the flood model, right? You've been on their channels long enough that you must have absorbed all of their wisdom.
I've heard a lot of it, and it's the same 3 or 4 things over and over again. Like somehow that's supposed to make the difference.
lunar bukkake.
Somebody tell me how it works.
Deformation.
And I'm still trying to figure out how the continents went flying off, to either side.
I don't think they think that.
Yeah, they do.
Well, no, there's a variety. So
I don't
I've
think
heard
so.
that the continents
No,
sank,
no.
and as they sank, they pushed all the water, and then it,
Okay,
kind of like
SFT
farted up and flooded over. And
Jason, SFT, and RAMAP have said that basically the reason the Himalayan mountains are there is because India hit Europe at 60 miles an hour. Asia, 60 miles an hour. And that's why they're there.
Well, I mean, I know that if you go to like ICR's site and you look at and you go through all their stuff, their position is that the continents have always been in the place that they are. That they haven't been moved. They haven't moved. They've always been in that place.
Oh, really?
A lot of them just
yeah. That's what I mean. That's what
Jason,
ICR says. I don't know if that.
I think you're making a good point there, where they all have these different quote unquote theories, but there's no backing to any of it. It's just, well, I think this happened, and that's the entire conversation.
Well,
So
when they say theory, they're talking about different different flavors of bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, Orge, but
that's
continents don't move at 60 miles an hour, as far as I'm aware of.
Exactly. I'm not privy to the
SFT's
Bible
here.
as my source of
SFT's
information
here.
in geology.
Yes, SAT is here, but he's
geology
only in the
textbooks
chat. Why
that
are we
day.
surprised?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so SFT or RAMAT said that the mountains could not have been they would have not have been able to create the Himalayas unless it was going 60 miles an hour. That if it was going really slow,
That's
the
hilarious.
mountains wouldn't have
That's
popped up.
hilarious because the Himalayas are like still growing.
Yeah.
Because
I know.
India is still moving
Yeah.
north.
So does that mean they're still crashing according to the creationists?
SFT.
Actually, they
It's
are.
happening
but not
right
according-
now, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
for any-
Not according to the
everywhere
creationists.
right
It's
now.
according to geologists. They're still.
Well, but see, that's the thing, isn't it? We always hear from the creationists, well, you can't watch this stuff happen, but we can literally watch mountains fucking move.
Yeah.
Like, what are you
I
talking
mean, for anyone to reasonably argue that plate tectonics is not a thing, I mean,
You have
Does-
you have to have no capability of reasoning. At least
Exactly,
no
yes.
proper capability of reasoning.
This topic is like
Randolph.
hey, what's up, Randolph? The grandfather of atheism.
Ooh, he's got his Japanese.
I don't know if we should say
pulse.
grandfather, just a
The
father.
old
of
Saint
atheism.
Nick of atheism.
Don't say grandfather. Just say
I
Randolph
the
Richardson.
hentai
The
movie.
village
Great-
elder of
great-
atheism.
great
Does that make it better?
grandfather.
Actually, no. Speed kind of has that under
The
the
shaman
badge
of
already.
atheism.
the shaman of atheism.
Okay, boys and girls, we have 10 people in the room. Do your damnedest to not overtalk each other, or I'm going to end the stream. Okay.
all right, everyone take turn.
Oh, Randolph.
Randolph.
I think he lost his connection.
Maybe.
Try not to overtalk each other.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me say one thing. That this topic of things happening in the past that were drastically different that are happening now. that like they make these associations with evolution too, that like what we're seeing now, like with microevolution, it doesn't exist with macroevolution. Like that's not possible. Or that now what we see now with the plates, the tectonic plate movement, we know plates move like around 10 centimeters a year. Like that somehow in the past, it was dramatically different.
Right.
Like if you're going to make those propositions, then you have to be able to provide legitimate evidence that would suggest that that's even possible.
Can I draw an analogy to what you're saying there quick, Jason? So because essentially what they're doing when they say stuff like this is, oh, well, I mean, yeah, you got microevolution, but you don't have macroevolution. What they're saying is, yeah, evolution is true. I'm just not granting you that it's occurred over billions of years. That's literally all they're saying. They're just not granting the deep time, as they call it. I still don't really know what that phrase means. But with this, oh, well, it happens on short periods of time, but not long periods of time, or, whatever excuse you want to bring up is like saying, oh, yeah, you can get gravity with planets. But like what they're saying with black holes, nope, that doesn't work, even though literally everything in the mathematics and the physical theories tell us that, yes, that is a thing that can happen, and it probably does.
Yeah.
They also call it like variation within a kind or nonsense like that.
Well, but the thing is though, like they only have that beef with humans because like in any other like clade that you want to talk about, like where the diversity like between like even species in the same like clade is higher than ours, they'll still call it the same kind.
Right, yeah.
But with humans and other hominins, no, they're different.
The word kind with creationists is a lot like the word liberal with conservatives. It kind of just means whatever they need it to mean at that particular instant to help their shitty argument. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just true.
I'm laughing in agreement.
So what you're telling me is it doesn't really mean. So what you're telling me is it doesn't really mean anything at all then.
Exactly. It means liberal could mean your neighbor's dog, just like kind could mean a flavor of ice cream. I mean, it just
occasionally, as I understand it, occasionally there are humans born with a vestigial tail. If a human was born with like a really big, fully functional tail, like what a leopard or a cheetah has, would those creationists consider this to be a different kind?
Well, they don't acknowledge that we have tails, so probably.
Interesting.
Okay, by the way, Jason,
the irony of that, though, Randolph, is like the tail that we have, like it's just reduced in its size, right?
Yeah.
Like making it vestigial. So, like, if you did see like some kind of like weird variation, like where some person did have a prolonged, tail, it wouldn't be any less human, right? It'd just be kind of abnormal for humans because typically humans have a reduction of that phenotype.
I mean, I have to be honest. At the end of the day, there are two ways to show that not necessarily that creationism is true. Well, one of them I think would, but they would certainly establish that modern. What is it? Integrated synthesis, I believe, is where modern evolutionary biology is standing. Am I correct on that?
Something like that.
Okay. To extended, is it extended synthesis or integrated?
There's
one of
still
the two.
a bit iffy in the air. It's kind of just a mix right now. I think.
Okay.
There's still a bit of debate about it.
Contemporary evolutionary biology, these would certainly show that it's wrong. The first one is, I don't know if it necessarily originated with Aaron. I think that he said he wasn't the one that really thought of it, but he kind of like popularized it anyway. It's the phylogeny challenge. If it is true that all kinds on Earth that there was an original kind created by God, we should be able to trace back no further than those kinds and be capable of identifying them. So do it. And it hasn't been done. That is one of the easiest things and one of the most basic, most fundamental predictions that young Earth creationism makes, and they can't even show it.
I think there's a third way they could do it actually, which would be like if they were to show like that there's like only like so much morphological diversity that can occur like within their so-called kinds, and that you can't have like one type of creature become another type, right? That would be, I would consider that like evidence for their position, but you can't show that.
And the That's very true. But the second piece, the second thing that they could do is find something somewhere in the geological column where it shouldn't be. Like what's the one from Dawkins, the rabbit in the Precambrian or something like that? Show us something like that.
Well, on that note, from more a phylogenetic perspective, you can also find me a mammal with precisely the same feather structure as a modern bird. That would that would pretty much resolutely falsify common descent.
I feel like there's a lot of things that aren't actually that far-fetched to see, but that we don't see, that if we did see would directly show that at least most aspects or a lot of the aspects of modern evolutionary theory would be false. Where is it? Show
people
it.
say evolution isn't falsifiable.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, like, it very clearly is. Like, there's predictions you could make, like, that might falsify evolutionary theory, but those predictions have to be, like, within the context of the theory itself.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is, as creationists, like, continuously demonstrate, they barely understand basic principles of evolution, let alone, like, the actual, like, molecular dynamics of it. So how on earth are they going to, like, establish predictions which actually rival the theory?
Could I give it a quick analogy? Like, say you have a wind turbine directly underneath a baseball, and it starts kind of floating upward. Within the context of the theory of gravity, that wouldn't falsify it just because something is going upwards. So it's a little more that you have to look at the nuances. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, basically. I mean, the thing is, like, somebody might say, like, probably a flat earther would say this, that it does falsify the theory of gravity. But the thing is, right, like, that theory works in tandem with other principles that we understand about physics and about how gravity relates to other things. Like, for instance, you know, like the third law of thermodynamics, right? If you take, like, if you put work on an object, right, that action will move, right, until the energy in that system runs out, right, and it stops again.
I think you mean the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, the second law just states that, well, the third law states that every object, like, that's put into motion will stay in motion until, like, a counterforce is applied, and then it stops. The second force essentially just says if a object is at rest, all net forces on the object, like, all forces on the object add to zero.
So the third law of thermodynamics states regarding the properties of closed systems and thermodynamic systems in thermodynamic equilibrium, the entropy of a system approaches a constant value when its temperature approaches absolute zero.
The third law of kinematic motion?
No, the third law of thermodynamics.
I think we were.
Oh, we were talking about kinematic motion.
Oh, you said thermodynamics.
Oh, I thought I was okay.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
kinematics. Okay, yeah. It's like Newton's third law of motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be something like an object that's in motion will stay in motion until an object, or until, like, a force is applied to stop the object, or something like that.
I actually don't know Newton's laws of motion off the top of my head.
Wait, I think that's the first law, actually.
Law 1, a body continues in its state of rest or in a uniform motion in a straight line unless acted upon by a force. Law 2, a body acted upon by a force moves in such a manner that the time rate of change of momentum equals to force. Law 3, if two bodies exert forces on each other, those forces are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction.
What was the point of this? What were you guys talking about?
Well, the point that I was making was Andrew was making an example, and my point was to say you might have observations that appear to contradict the theory, but that may only be the case if you fail to recognize the context of a theory within a broader scope of a field.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go. You've been waiting.
I was going to say, even the most basic, just develop a null hypothesis to evaluate your position, statistically test that hypothesis, test out the alternative hypotheses, like come up with a hypothesis that rock X is 6,000 years old, and then test that hypothesis. See if you can reject or accept that hypothesis. Like, do actual science. Like if they like, we've gone through all these areas, like from a young Earth creationist perspective. I've like talked about plate tectonics, radiometric dating, like ice core, sediment core analysis, orbital cycling. There's like, you could go down like 10, 15 different things. Like take one of those areas and show radiometric dating is completely wrong. That we're completely wrong with the parent-daughter isotope techniques.
Can I say something? Can I say something with
yeah.
respect to that? Because I said it on Gerstream earlier today. The thing, and this is like the first thing I'm going to go for with the young Earth creationists. We were talking about John a little bit, and I said, but with respect to specifically John, he's a capitalist, and he tell you that. And so I would love to ask him, and many creationists, because most of them are probably also conservatives and like all about freedom and capitalism and everything like that, even though capitalism is a freedom. Anyway, I said I wanted to ask him. So, I mean, you believe in capitalism and free markets and all this. So that like multi-billion-dollar oil conglomerates and oil trusts aren't going to invest hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into some venture, knowing that the fundamental principles upon which it's founded are absolutely faulty and are going to completely blow any chance of making a profit. But by your model, that's what they do. These people, British Petroleum, Shell, ExxonMobil, all of these companies apparently invest hundreds of millions, if not literal billions, sometimes tens of billions of dollars. And how many hundreds or potentially trillions of dollars have been invested over the years in prospecting for oil? What methods did they use? Radiometric dating? If it doesn't work, number one, why have they consistently for over 100 years invested in that time trillions of dollars into it? And why has it always only ever returned consistent and profitable results?
Yeah.
Well, just to add on to that, I mean, like a single radiometric dating analysis, like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Orgate, typically costs like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if people are going to say like
it's not that expensive.
Modern
radiometric dating is 1,000 would be a max of it. I remember when I used it, it was, I did not have like a huge budget for my project, but I was still able to get my stuff radiometrically dated. So
I think
it's
more
not,
of the expenses in someone like the boring that's done during prospecting to get the samples that need.
The point I was trying to make was it is still expensive to some degree, and if you're going to say that it's
would be to an individual it'd probably be expensive.
I mean, to BP, it's not expensive to drop $3,000 on it.
And it requires a level of sophistication because you have to address like original materials, like contaminated samples. Like there's an aspect of error that can be introduced. And I think like, what was it? Like somebody did a test that was like, it was way off, but it was because the sample was way contaminated, and people use it as an example of saying, aha, radiometric dating is wrong.
Yeah, they use that all the time.
So there are ways of trying to prove your position, and I just don't see that happening.
I mean, there's legitimate. I mean, and this goes to like the intelligent design community, which is also just creationists. But the thing is, right? Like they're expecting other people to do the heavy lifting for them, and it's like, sorry, that's not the way this works. Like, if you want to actually like put down and try and fight this thing, give us predictions about how your theory is supposed to work and test them yourself, because other people have stuff they're doing already.
Conversation that we're having right now, I have all the time when I talk geology with Yex, and they bring up like the 3 things creationists say they proved right in the 80s, like Baumgartner doing like was it cold slabs from Baumgartner, and Humphreys magnetic fields of planets, like the 3 things they did in the rate project, right?
Oh, Humphreys and the magnetic.
And then all that stuff, none of it produced anything viable. No, it happened 40 years. We're looking 40 years ago, and that stuff has A, not progressed, B, is still talked about like it's relevant, and C, hasn't affected any, as you guys say, in industry. Right?
But meanwhile, look at the actual science and how it has made progressions, how the scientists have made corrections and have adjusted things. And creationism doesn't do that.
I mean, and the thing is too, like, look at the conclusions of the rate team, right? They even said it. They didn't want to, but they did say it, right? That they don't know of any physics like that can like account for like this proposed like accelerated decay hypothesis without fucking obliterating the planet, without appealing like to a miracle. And it's just like, look, miracles happen in the Bible. Why don't you just go with that? Go with that route. That's so much easier for you.
I would love. Somebody needs speed. Speed boy. You need to set me up a discussion with Sal on miracles. I need to have a discussion with this guy.
I don't. The thing is, I don't know why creationists don't appeal to them more often.
What? What?
Like,
I mean,
it's so
sure.
much simpler for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, it's just magic. Hey,
Well, it's
how did the universe get here? Magic. How did light get
it's
here?
because they're
You
putting on the
guessed
science
it.
facade.
It was magic. What is consciousness? Hey, coming in with another bingo. It's magic.
They have to be scientists. I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, they insist that they're the only ones doing real science. And they have
that's the most precious statement they make.
I know, and that's why they're so attached to this. They will not go with miracles. I mean, Christ, miracles during the flood. I mean, they're already doing miracles, right? Why not just add a few more? And what the fuck?
The thing is, I think actually here's the reason they're not doing it is because they recognize that when they're communicating to like people like atheists and other people, it sounds retarded.
Yeah, well, they're trying to convert atheists by showing them science.
It sounds stupid.
Look, people like in today's world of 2022, most people, everything that they know that literally their entire lives is touched by science. That the food that they eat, the car that they drive, that everything that they're engaged in, that science has had impacts, and that we know that like scientific efforts work. Like, and so they have to say, look, we have to somehow work within this paradigm. But when they start to do that, and then they say, we have a Bible and we have these precepts that have to be true. Then they have to work backwards. They have to say, look, the Bible says this, the Bible says this, the Bible says this. Now I have to construct this theory that is where I already know what the outcome is. And now I have to kind of re-engineer that. This is the problem, is that it's just impossible to do, to say, this is the result. It's like the worst science you could possibly ever do is to say, this is my result. Now let me work backwards and try to put all the pieces together to make it fit. That's like what you don't do in science.
I have a theory.
The other problem with them invoking miracles instead of science is that they would have to admit that last Thursdayism would be just as viable as what they're coming up with, because we can say that the entire universe, including all of our memories, was created last Thursday, and there's no way to break that argument, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
the minute you posit a supernatural explanation, any supernatural explanation becomes is equally likely. The thing is, anything about the natural world that we observe is always only ever going to underdetermine a supernatural explanation. Where you posit God, I could posit Santa Claus, and my explanation is not any more or less valuable or meritorious than yours is. So which one is correct? There's no way to determine it.
Yeah.
Evidential chip in favor of naturalism.
The miracle aspect is a good. I mean, I kind of like what Leo is saying, and I've said this before. If they just said, "Look, God works in mysterious ways. There's some things we can't explain. This is what the Bible is true," and maybe science, just like God's outside of science. God was able to do the flood stuff, and you're not able to understand it through scientific means because He works in mysterious ways. I mean, it's ridiculous, but how can you combat that? You can't. There's not much you can say against that of just saying, I think you're full of shit.
This goes again back to
the...
What are you going to say?
Well, there's an epistemic route through which you could attack that. You could be like, yeah, well, I mean, if all you're going to say is that God works in mysterious ways, but that's not a reason. You're not really giving me a reason for anything. You're just making a statement with nothing behind it. Like you're not giving a rational justification. And so I'm just not committed to what you're saying. Sure, if it convinces you, that's fine. But I can't agree that you're rationally justified in your position, and thereby I would say that's probably more an indication that it's wrong than that it's anything close to being right.
Is it
The
better?
the best way to deal with that in their case is to say, look, not all my beliefs are based purely upon logic and rationale. Right?
Yeah,
there's
that's gonna
there's
be
other beliefs
problematic.
that I have. Well, I mean, sure, but I mean, I don't think it's necessary that all our beliefs are based upon logic, but
Yeah.
the majority
I
should
would be interested in beliefs that aren't.
I mean, it could just be there's some beliefs we have that are true, but just can't be logically justified.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're not
Doesn't mean
logical.
Yeah, that's true. It just
Well,
means we
Like
just don't know how to
my
explain it.
belief that I am an agent and I exist submerged within an external reality through which I can perceptibly interact or interface with. I'm sure I can't necessarily logically prove that, but it's logical to think that, in the sense that thinking that is following a set of formalized reasoning processes, even if it can't be proven in some axiomatic sense.
Right. So well, what do you take something like if I say X is logical to believe in? What do you take that to mean?
I when people say, well, something is just like, when people use logical in more of this like colloquial or this flowery sense, oh, well, it's just logical. Like when people say, well, God, you believing that God exists just isn't logical. When people use it in that context with that connotation, I just take that to what they're saying is that either X is reasonable or X is not reasonable, depending on how, you know, the qualifier that's there, whether it's positive or negative. That's all I take.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would say that there might be things that we cannot prove in an axiomatic sense, but that it's still reasonable to believe in them. Like for instance, it's Hume's problem of induction. Induction presupposes the regularity of nature, but that doesn't mean that presupposing the regularity of nature isn't reasonable to do. We've only ever experienced X, so we should expect that we will just continue to experience that, at least up until we don't. And we'll never know when that is, if it ever happens. So we can only work, it's sort of this, we can only work from what we have now. So if we've only ever experienced nature doing the same things over and over and over and over and over, then we'll just kind of assume that that's just going to continue to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. Man, has the intelligent design community put out anything new in terms of predictions or stuff like that recently? I don't think they have.
According to SFT, Jensen has all kinds of predictions, and he keeps talking about them, and I keep trying to find them, and I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but he keeps talking about all these predictions. I don't know.
Jensen's the whole genetic entropy thing, right?
No, that's Sanford.
He's
Or is it?
created heterozygosity and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Can I just want to ask you a quick question, Andrew? Isn't the created heterozygosity just a post hoc assertion, really? Like, because it is technically consistent with what we observe, but it doesn't, like, really. It would be like saying that if I went and said, yeah, you know, general relativity explains gravity fine, and it works exactly that way, but there's fairies that are doing it all. Like,
wait,
that
yeah,
just doesn't
I think
add
like
anything.
Yeah, like the front loaded aspect of it, like, oh, God just designed it in such a way that the dominoes started falling in such and such way. Yeah, I think that's pretty ad hoc.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I just don't understand how you would determine that from like a natural, like how you would say that's true, like with you know, by, you know, in comparison like to a natural paradigm.
Say
like what does that type of thing look like?
Oh, like created heterozygosity?
Yeah. Like what particular characteristics are we looking for in the created kind?
Yeah, Dan's right
Right,
there.
that look, you know, that are distinct from any other, you know, any other species we have currently.
Yeah, I mean, what I was getting at was that it was kind of like the luminiferous aether, where like you can like reproduce the universe that we see using it, but it's not entirely consistent with observations that we make, and it's also kind of like completely unfalsifiable, and it's just post hoc. The created heterozygosity seems to be saying, yeah, it all looks like that, and that's all, you know, hunky dory, but it was just created that way. It was just created that way. Just post hoc.
It's about as ad hoc as saying, okay, we observe
post-hoc.
Post hoc as the hyper speciation rates post flood, and how they just gradually turned off to the modern rates that we see today. So, I generally agree there.
So, and just really quickly, ad hoc is to say that you're trying to account for something before the fact, whereas post hoc is you're trying to account for something after the fact. So these are things that are after the fact. You know, these are things that have happened, and they're just trying to come up with explanations that you could just slap on and say, "Yep, this is the reason why." That sure, in some sense, might be consistent with what we see, but don't really explain anything. Like saying, "Yeah, sure, it all looks like this and what have you," but it was just created that way. That's just post hoc. You're just trying to come up with an explanation after the fact that can account for it to rescue your worldview when it doesn't really explain.
Well, I think something that needs to be said is that there's a difference between an ad hoc explanation and an ad hoc fallacious explanation. Because you can say, "Oh, I thought of this, and this explains this, so it's my idea is still correct." But you could also say, in a more scientific sense, that okay, this might be true. Let's go out and test it. Like those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, Jason, I linked an article in the description.
He may not be back. He stepped away for he said 10 minutes. So
okay. Anyway, so I linked an article on ICR on plate. What is it? Catastrophic plate tectonics. So they do.
I was reading that when you were going through it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a link in the description. You can download a PDF, and they get into it pretty heavily, but it's really bad.
So I have a quick question for Orgate.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the whole soft sediment deformation thing? Like,
oh my God.
Like, I mean, it's nonsense, right? Like, but I just want to hear your general opinion about it first off.
I guess my biggest issue with it is no one's ever given a actual description of what they mean by soft, because the argument is the mountains, the sediments of the mountains, they just say sediments, even though mountains very drastically in what is created by is what they're made up of.
Right.
But they say the sediments were soft enough to deform under the pressure. Well, how soft were they? Because at a certain softness, they're just going to mush. They're not going to keep the layers, right? And at a certain hotness, apparently they're going to shatter for some reason. So I'd like a definition of that. And when you're talking something the size of a mountain, where you have thousands of feet of quote unquote sediment, and again, that's a terrible word to use, this all was at this magical consistency that no one can tell me what it is. I mean, that's a huge problem right there. It's just a one sentence,
It seems to be a recurring problem too, isn't it? They say all these things yet can't actually explain anything or show anything. It's like, yeah, you say this is a problem, but then how? And then you just struggle to show me how this is a problem. Like what?
Well, and then also it completely negates metamorphic mountain ranges. Like, at what point was the metamorphic rock soft and pliable?
Yeah.
And it completely negates igneous mountain ranges. Like,
don't we also have some types of experiments that show that rocks can deform over significant pressure and time scales?
You don't even need an experiment. I mean, everything will deform over time, right? Go out to your garage. You got that heavy workbench. The feet underneath the heavy workbench are bending the concrete. Things deform. That's
that's true. Yeah.
Ductile nature is a curve. At some point it'll break. If you're before that, it'll bend. Everything bends. Like this idea that
good old plasticity.
Yeah,
never thought it like that.
Exactly, right? Literally everything bends. It's not even a question about that. So I don't. They just make up a problem and then claim victory.
Okay, this would take a lot of research, but okay, when sedimentary rocks form, the next thing that happens, first of all, the sand grains or the components of the layer are laid down, right, by some sort of sedimentation process. Well, over time, there's cementing of those particles, and when those particles cement, they normally cement with quartz, I think, and some other compounds, and they form a certain kind of crystal that attaches to the crystal of the sediment itself. And then when this is metamorphosized, is that a word?
Metamorphosed.
Yeah, when this
Metamorphosed.
metamorphosed, when this starts to bend, okay, those crystals that are basically projecting off of those sediment things, they know what the angle of those crystals are. And I believe that those crystals also bend with. So their idea that the rock bent and then hardened later is easily falsifiable if you just find the right research on it. But if you look at the sedimentation process, and then the other thing about sedimentation is there's first cycle, second cycle, and third cycle sediments, and none of that shit works with a 6,000 year timeline. So basically, there are sediments that get laid down, they cement together, they get metamorphosized, they get broken up again by some other process, and they get laid down again, and we have a second cycle sediment. And then I think there's even third cycle sediments, and all of that stuff. When you read about sedimentation and you think in terms of this rapid bullshit that they're putting out, I have a book that's probably 200 pages on sedimentation upstairs. You would have to take 195 of those pages and rip them out and burn them if you believe that all this shit happened rapidly, because it's
I wouldn't hesitate to do it.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like just picking up a rock in my backyard, I can know or be reasonably confident that rock had its own unique process of formation and history. And I think that's a pretty neat idea.
Every one of them.
Yeah, Speed. What I said they wouldn't hesitate to do such a thing.
Yeah, I know. They would rip it out and burn it. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't care about that. I mean, they're interested in their view being correct, not what's actually out there. So,
and again, we should point out here, we're doing way more work about this problem than any yek is. Right?
Well, they're just bitching and moaning about it. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
I love these little pictures.
I mean, and the whole thing Sal did about like redefining it, it's like, oh, what do you fucking do? Imagine if you redefine a term and how you're using it, you can get a different result. Wow, go figure, genius.
I just realized, Speed, is
that
this the
supposed to be?
Meta? Oh, sorry.
Kind of, except I have lobster and some chicken enchiladas waiting for me, and I really
God. Dude, just go eat for like 10 minutes and then fucking come back. You don't have to end the whole ass stream.
Like for me, okay, for me, eating is like a romantic dinner and movie.
Then go and do it. We'll hold down the fort.
Yeah, but it takes like 2 hours for me to do this whole
Why
process.
does it take you 2 hours? Are you like a slug? God, what is
Okay, it's like a Valentine's Day date with my stomach when I eat dinner. Okay, I mean I can't just fucking do this shit and come back.
Yeah, you can. It's called being a human.
And then the other thing is, as soon as I'm done, I want a cigarette and I want to take a nap.
Well, do those things. What's the matter with that?
Fuck cigarettes. They're gross.
I mean, okay, sure.
Does anybody else have a stream? I was hoping Gur would.
It was earlier today, and so was Nathan. Everybody, you got to remember, Nathan does open conversations like once every 6 to 8 days.
Oh, Leo, you can do a stream on your channel.
I could, but nobody's going to come. Nathan Orman, Digital Gnosis.
Yeah, all these guys would go.
Yeah. Well, dude, he lives in the UK. It's 3 a.m. where he's at right now.
but
so you got to remember, he's 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh, shit. Stephanie Trenton asked a really pertinent question that is really important. Whatever happened to minute pot noodles?
Minute pot noodles? I don't recall what those are.
Pot
noodles. You talking about ramen?
Yeah, ramen. There's ramen.
Yeah, but is that what minute pot noodles means? Is it ramen?
I don't know.
Are you guys like? That's the closest thing I could think of.
I mean, how can you not be in love with your digestive system? Without it, you die.
I know.
Well, that doesn't mean
I don't know.
like,
Sometimes my digestive system fucks me over.
I don't feel those emotions. Yeah,
Chipotle fucks me right.
I was gonna. God.
Chipotle fucks me right now up.
I was gonna say, do you have a bottle of Chipotle? Just waiting. I don't know if you've seen the South Park. I have.
I can eat Chipotle, a pizza, a McDonald's hamburger, and then take 2 naproxen and 5 ibuprofen, and nothing happens to my stomach at all.
What about you, Speed? Do you have any Chipotle?
I love it, Randall.
To pull the blood stains out of your underwear from all the Chipotle that you eat?
The only Chipotle I get is like they have a taco salad. Other than that, I think Chipotle is like bullshit.
So you don't
Wow.
have Chipotle way. Anybody else who have Chipotle way?
We do.
Chipotle.
No, Chipotle way.
I'm
It's
amused.
what you
that
use
chat has
on the
devolved into
bloodstains
food talk.
that form in your underwear from the bloody shit from eating so much Chipotle.
South Park
spray
did
the
that.
you
You're
spray the
correct. South
Chipotle
Park
way
did
on there, and it cleans it out. That's why they call it Chipotle way.
Chipotle way.
He's making a South Park joke.
Yes, I am.
Oh, is it?
Because you guys are uncultured and none of you fucking watch South Park.
Hey,
so-
Leo,
Oh,
you
so
would
we're
know.
cultured if we watch South Park. Oh, that's
Yes, yes, you
Leo,
are.
what happened to Leo? What happened to South Park? Why did they only have 2 episodes for the entire season?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because they were bought out.
Dude, I haven't seen South Park in like 9 months, okay?
Yeah, they disappeared. They haven't done a new season.
No, actually, it's because I don't have Comedy Central, so can't watch South Park.
They're not really on Comedy Central anymore.
Well,
They got-
yes,
they got,
I didn't. I didn't know that because I don't
Paramount.
have.
Paramount, the people who own Comedy Central, like bought them for a special price or something. It's weird, and they're essentially like getting paid to do less work.
I paid $24 for the last season, and I think they only have 2 episodes out so far.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Anyone know
a subscription-based model?
They got like $100 million. It was ridiculous. So yeah, they're just backing off.
You know who else got $100 million?
Your mom?
Your mom?
No, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
Good old fucking Jogan.
Anyone know?
You
if
know,
Dr.
I mean,
Dan's still
I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Rogan, but he's kind of based on some of the stuff he says.
Andrew is
Like
trying to
maybe
say
like
something.
2%. Like he was way more based back in like
I think
2018.
South Park guys are probably busy running the Casa Bonita restaurant lately because they bought that a while ago.
Sure, they are keeping it alive.
Casa Bonita.
Andrew, what are you trying to say?
Oh, I just want to see if Dr. Dan was still in chat because I want to, well, see if he'd ever want to have a talk just on like viruses, the basics of them.
I keep trying to
Viruses
get
are
him to
like
come on,
really
but he
weird.
has resisted.
Viruses are just bizarre little things.
Oh, Dr. Dan, I was listening to you in the chat. I don't know if you were privy to the conversation I had with Alex, I think his name is, where viruses were fake and no one's ever taken a picture of them.
Oh, those people.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my god, that was so fucking funny, dude.
LPP had to kill it because he knew the Christians were looking terrible. I was so proud.
dude, it was so. Oh my god.
Okay, did you hear Alex?
Isn't that the one guy with the mustache and like the Music Man or whatever the fuck he calls himself? Wasn't it that guy? It's like he's kind of like Alex Stein, isn't it?
Snowball or Snowflake or something. I don't know.
No, it was like
Wasn't it Alex
Anyway,
Cox?
okay, Alex Cox had a conversation with Jackson Rowe the other night after everybody went to the stream,
no, I know you're
and he was talking about asymptote or something, or an
asymptote. Asymptote.
No, he was talking about asymptote or something. He was
Yes, the word that actually exists, which is closest to that, is asymptote.
Yes,
which is a
and he was
mathematical
getting it-
term.
and he was getting it all wrong, and he claims he was working on a PhD. And I'm like, I'm calling bullshit on that. And then
PhD
the other
in what?
thing he said is that something about the reason I don't believe in evolution is because I went to the lab and they were using corn syrup.
What lab were you at?
They were using corn oil.
Jemima's.
They were using corn oil to do a lipid panel, and I told him, that's glucose. That's made out of glucose, and it's like you got it. He was thinking about syrup or something. I don't know what the fuck, but he was talking like he claims to have a degree in fucking biochemistry, right? He knows
Really?
nothing. Oh my god, it was just hilarious listening to him
That's,
talking to Jackson.
I'm calling bullshit on that one.
Yeah,
You went into a research lab that's using corn syrup. I mean,
corn oil to do lipid panels. And he said if you put a tab in there, or if you put the like a litmus paper or whatever the fuck to test, it'll come back positive for glucose. And I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And he said that was why he no longer believes in evolution. It's like, what?
So some people were running a shitty lipid assay, so you discredited evolution. Oh.
I don't know what the fuck. Where the hell?
It
where the
sounds
hell
almost like
Would
you
it be
start
okay if
believing
I
in
brought back
evolution.
to viruses
Dumb
with something
bullshit.
else? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can bring back viruses.
Boy,
You bring in
that's
the
like
virus.
the weirdest excuse you could come up with.
Anyone ever heard of Mimi virus?
The virus that infects other viruses.
No. Okay. How about Pandora virus?
Nope.
It's like the virus that has the largest genome.
Yes. Giant viruses. I don't know why. They're just is so interesting to me.
Oh
It is kind of amazing because you consider the fact that like viruses have to store that in a relatively condensed capsid.
Right.
So the amount of
Yeah.
supercoiling that DNA has to undergo is pretty insane.
Because I mean, like most viruses, you look at them next to a E. coli, and they're just tiny.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're
The only
like
viruses that I have any knowledge of are the very, 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 very basic knowledge I have of coronaviruses with respect to confuting claims that SARS-CoV-2 originated from a lab.
I know that there are like viruses with only like 2 free genes, right, for proteins.
I mean, I can see where it could have originated from a lab, but I mean, I don't think that the way I'm talking about it is the same way the other people are talking about it.
Well, I mean, I can too, but also none of the data accords with such a conclusion.
If they mean like some researchers just decided to like design a virus from scratch, like that, no.
Well, of course not. But
We
I mean,
can't do that.
even like it being gain of functioned into existence isn't a thing that's
What?
likely to happen. I mean, that's part of the reason why the WIV, the Wuhan Institute for Virology, even exists. Humans don't know, as far as I understand, all that much about coronaviruses.
I mean, they've studied them for like several decades now, though.
So, is there any way that CRISPR-Cas9 could make a virus DNA change?
A what?
Cas9 is
CRISPR-Cas9.
for genome editing, so I mean, maybe, but I don't think Cas9 can be used for some stuff, but I mean, it's not like.
Speaking of, I don't know if Dr. Dan is still in the chat, but if he is, I'd really like him to get back to me on Twitter with respect to the question I had about seamless or no-seam gene editing, whereby apparently there are methods where we can edit genomes with absolutely no trace of humans having done anything at all. Because I'm skeptical of that, and I need an actual PhD virologist to help me with answering that question.
I think he could.
I mean, it seems
I know he could. He's a virologist.
I don't know how that would work because, like, if you run the genome, run the genome on a gel, you should see like separation. You should see a different pattern, wouldn't you?
Well, the only reason
if
is
you add certain genes, like you should see a difference, like in their molecular
yeah.
weights.
Yeah, you can tell you've done something. I mean, it's going to be different, but you couldn't tell that humans did it. It wouldn't be any different than if it happened.
Well, I mean, you'd have to verify that via sequencing and comparing that to the phylogeny of that virus with other viruses.
Okay, guys, could you listen to these 2 little clips?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is now Alex Cox is a degree in biochemistry, and he was working on his PhD. So, let's see.
Now, have you ever heard of oh goodness gracious, I just lost it. Yeah, have you ever heard of an asymptote?
Asymptote.
A what?
Yes, it's asymptote, but he doesn't know what he's fucking saying.
An asymptote. Okay, but here's the other part that I wanted you to listen to.
Wait, Speed. I do actually have a quick question, if I may.
Okay.
What is an asymptote? I don't know what an asymptote is. Do you know what an asymptote is?
Asymptote. I don't know. I guess that would be like, okay, start with a toad. Where can we go with this? I don't know.
It's a toad that feeds on mathematical
toad, perhaps? I don't know.
It's a toad,
Okay, but
it's a toad from the board that you can't resist. It's going to assimilate.
There we go.
Now, these guys are trying to convert this Jackson roll, right? I mean, they're working every night to convert them.
I think so.
In a few hours. But anyway, listen to this.
Big thing that got me out of evolution was being in the lab.
Yeah.
Once I got in the lab, I looked at the we were doing a lipid test, and
basically, you test the lipids for fats, and then you test the glucose, and then you test the starches, right? And you have that little little vial, and you test tube. You dip the paper in there, and it comes up this or that. And I noticed that they're using corn oil.
Welcome back, Jason.
I said, "Why are you using corn oil?"
Thanks.
And lab assistant looks at me and goes, "What do you mean? We always use corn oil." I said, "I guarantee you $100 right now, $100 that if you stick in the corn oil, you stick the glucose tab in there, it's going to show up glucose."
Corn oil.
And she goes, "No, it won't." I said, "No, do it. $100, $100, or $100."
$100.
And then, okay.
Hundo,
Sticks in there, glucose. So you have a lipid.
She sticks in it. Okay, no, hold on, Speeds. Pause real quick. Pause real quick. So I told her if you stick it in there, it'll come up glucose. And guess what? She sticks it in there, and it came up glucose. Ah, wow, man, you're so fucking big brained. Look at his big swinging dick. It came up glucose.
Wait a minute. No,
oh my fucking god.
If he's making all this money in the lab, why did he leave the lab?
Why did he let her do
Corn
that?
oil.
Like, why did he let her use glucose? Why did he not stop? Like what?
Corn oil. Can't do corn oil. Just the
First of all, corn oil is okay. Corn syrup is made out of fructose and glucose and saccharides, but corn oil is made out of triglycerides. And I don't know what he's talking about. You may come up with a hit because it has glycerol, but I don't think. But why the fuck would you use corn oil to test somebody's lipid panel? Why would you stick corn oil in somebody's blood to test?
Yeah, it just sounds like this is something he's like made up in like a wet dream. I don't know, like where the
Can I ask a
granted.
quick question? Does anybody here have a strong understanding of hematology and oncology?
A little bit. I'm learning about
hematology, like the study of blood.
Yeah, hematology and oncology. Yes,
Study of
blood.
And I know some things about blood, but I mean, like, not really oncology.
So, does anybody here really know if like you can't do that to test for lipids?
I don't know.
Alex
No,
knows.
I mean, those two things
See,
don't relate to
okay,
it.
now this is what I like is that
But,
obviously that's probably not a thing you can do. But both Speed and Immutable were like, I mean, I can't say that it's not, but I don't know. But like, if I were to go to like a creationist channel and grill them on something, they'd fight. Oh, they try to act like they're the biggest brain motherfucker. That's the only reason I did that, was to actually show that around these parts, we're willing to say we don't know, even when what we're saying is like obviously probably correct.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Maybe that's correct. Like maybe the people are just like doing something wrong in their research lab, and
can't forget error
he
bars.
called it out. But like I highly doubt that.
Or maybe there's some legitimate reason to do the tests that way. Who knows?
I mean, maybe like you were using corn oil because some of the molecular components there had molecular properties that were needed to separate out the particular lipids you wanted to test.
Maybe they weren't testing in blood, but like
But
ichor, the blood of
if
the
you're
god.
testing for triglycerides and you put corn oil in it, corn oil is a fucking triglyceride. Why in the fuck would you put triglycerides?
Maybe they're padding tests for some reason. Who knows? Trying to fuck. It's like, yeah, you got diabetes. Yeah, you got it pretty hard too. We're gonna need to up some dosages here, on these scripts.
We're going to make an army of super corn oil soldiers.
The other thing too is like and this is the obvious question: how does an asymptote relate to this?
That's the better question.
What was like? What? Why is the first part of that conversation relevant? Like, sorry,
it's
what?
Because you're an atheist. That's why.
I think he was
talking. I mean, maybe, but like, I'm very lost.
Yeah, we're atheists. We ain't supposed to be asking these questions.
I was just doing some searches on this. There's this thing called a lipase test. So I guess corn oil is used for what's called a lipase test. Lipase test is used to detect and enumerate lipotic bacteria, especially in high-fat dairy products. So they talk about using it for like detection of like staphylococcus, like these other like fungi, but I don't see anything related to cholesterol. I see for
anything about asymptotes.
No.
Anything
Yeah,
about
so-
glucose testing?
So basically, a lipase, you're testing the pancreas to see if it can dissolve. So it has the enzymes to dissolve fat, and you might use corn oil in that. But that's what the fuck.
Speed's so fucking gone. He doesn't
There's
know
just,
what the fuck this dude is talking about right now.
There's so much wrong, like with what he's saying. I mean, let's just accept what he's saying, right? How does that disprove evolution? Like it might have just
They
been a
used
shitty
corn
lab.
oil in a test. Which means
Can I just say one thing? This Alec Cox guy, I have seen him on numerous streams. He's like out there, man. He
is
really
out there.
mentioned some crazy
Jason,
shit.
he's the one that told me we've never seen a picture of a virus.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I spent 3 seconds
Really?
on Google, found pictures of
there's no
viruses. They
such
I
say,
remember
well,
seeing
I'm
that.
sure you
That
can
was
believe
so
that.
funny. No. Literally, Alex was like, "You guys know we've never actually like seen a virus, right? Like we don't have any pictures of viruses." Like 6 seconds
We
go by,
made that up.
and hold on. 6 seconds go by, and Orke's like, can I share my screen quick? Screen gets shared, and there's like a whole bunch of pictures.
Well, the better question you should have asked him is like, okay, Alex, like what methods would you use to visualize a virus?
Whoa! You're going
Like,
those words have way too many syllables in them.
I mean,
slow down. That's
X-ray
very
crystallography.
asthmatic sentence right there.
Like that's what we use to visualize like
Semicotic.
viruses, right? X-ray crystallography.
It's one of them, isn't it?
I see even Dr. Dan remembers.
I don't know if electron microscopy can be used.
I think you
Well,
can.
might
see
be
them.
able
You
to.
can see
Yes.
little particles.
Scanning
Yeah.
electron microscopy, you definitely can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty big. I mean, they're huge fucking structures when it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you compare them to like atoms, I mean, viruses are fucking like planets to humans. So
Oh yeah, there were a lot of goodies in this stream. This was amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I
remember
remember
the
that stream.
microbiome is so cool.
Why is
It
Jackson
really is.
frequent their stream so much? I've seen him over there a lot.
I know, and you know what I tried?
Jason's
I tried to comment
like
on his videos, and my comments disappeared.
Harder, Daddy.
I think I have no idea what's going on with him, but I've been trying to reach out to him because they keep beating him around on certain topics, and I wanted to help him out on a few things. So, but he won't.
I
get
would
back.
love to go in and talk with some of these guys, but Speed, Jesus Christ. John is
Little
not,
peepee. Oh my God! you
it's
confused
not like
me.
it's really my only criticism of him. Like if this wasn't an issue, I think he would actually be like just really good to have discussions with, but he's just not charitable enough with people who don't
He
agree with
gets
him.
meaner than
No.
hell if you disagree with him. You
Yeah,
know?
he's
The thing
just
is,
not
too,
charitable.
like, LPP seems to take this like really weird stance of like, if you don't know everything, you can't talk about anything type of position.
Yeah, he said that about me. Like, yeah, I don't know much about information theory, so I can't speak much on
And it's just-
phylogenetics.
And he doesn't know shit about information.
The only place I've seen it really brought up is like with biosemiotics people. And it's
I
like,
know it-
I don't even know what the fuck they're trying to get, like what the fuck they're trying to communicate about.
Yeah, no, immutable. Have you ever seen any fucking results in biology? Yeah,
They just keep spewing on about the same shit. And it's like,
right.
I don't understand, like, why are you guys, like, it's cool. You might be able to use it to understand it, but what?
Right.
Why?
Yeah, they never come up with anything. They never fucking do anything. It's driving me crazy. I download a paper a day on biosemiotics, and I don't look at all of them. But every time I look at one, that's all they're talking about is other biosemiotics papers, and they're talking about their conferences but they never actually fucking do anything. It's driving me
it's
crazy.
just- and I don't think anybody professionally is like really paying it any mind either, because it's just like it's interesting, but I don't think it's ever been like attempted to be applied because I don't know what they're trying to communicate with it.
Yeah, I got one here by
Hey,
Barbara.
Leo.
A
Leo.
new understanding of life. What?
Me? Did you say my name?
Yes.
Somebody? What's up?
Have you seen not to beat a dead horse here, but have you seen the clip of LPP kicking me?
Oh yeah.
What?
I haven't seen.
I'm gonna say no because I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
It's on
Does
one of my
anybody, do you know actually if any biosemiotics stuff like has been like applied in any like scientific discipline or?
No, I can't find any. Like I can't find anything that they've produced so far, and I have no idea what's going on with that. I've got, let's see, Barbieri did a paper here. Okay, this is 2008. Because I get links every day, and I keep
What name did you just say?
Barbieri.
Okay, I was gonna say because I just looked up biosemiotics and I found the same thing. Biosemiotics is the idea that life is based on semiosis, i.e., on signs and codes. This idea has been strongly suggested by the discovery of the genetic code, but so far it has made little impact in the scientific world and is largely regarded as a philosophy rather than a science.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh, these are pretty old papers too. I'm surprised. I thought these were like I get links for the papers. You think it would be a new paper, but apparently they're old. Let's see. Why now? Okay. Shape of Biology to Come. That just came today. So the Shape of Biology to Come, and that's under my biosemiotics thing. Let's see. The account of form of account in Hoffmeyer's biosemiotics. And that paper is from when? Oh, fuck. There's no date on it. I hate when they don't put a date on a paper. I don't know, but I can't figure it out. I've been waiting for like the application of information theory. The only thing I ever saw is that one paper that we reviewed where they went through and they understood the function of a protein from using information concepts. Shut the fuck up. Goddamn Siri.
Siri.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if biosemiotics would be kind of similar to the thing like Nicholson published, but
okay, where the there's no
or if
data
that's
on
more
this.
philosophy of biology.
Yeah, I don't know. It's philosophy of biology, definitely. Because the other thing I don't see is I don't see any real technical like if you took pathways, biochemical pathways, and you tried to technically attack them with the idea of biosemiotics, that I would like to see, but I'm not seeing any of that. I'm not seeing them actually doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably could do it, like formulating it as some kind of like
right.
As like some kind of like logical system or, a system that's like using logical gates or whatever, but I don't know if anybody's done that.
Yeah, it seems to all be philosophy so far. And I love it. I think it's it's a really fun thing to think about, and it's a fun field, but do something.
Biosemiotics looks to me more almost a metaphysical framework for understanding biology and biological systems rather than like a hard science.
Yeah, and it's a way of looking at systems, dynamical systems, at multiple levels of hierarchy, and that's the important part about it, right? And that's what they're trying to get at. They're trying to look at top down and bottom up all together, and look at these multiply overlapping hierarchies in biology. So they're looking at evolution as not just mutation at the bottom end, but they're looking at it as the ecology at the top end, and they're trying to come up with some kind of framework. And from what I've seen so far, they're just arguing with each other about this and that. The great chain of semiosis.
How long has it been around approximately, if you know?
Semiotics has been around, I think, for about 100 years. And then Pierce took it and he wrote some books on it. And he was talking about it. I think he was using it as communication, like signs, like if you see bear tracks.
Right.
Bear tracks are basically a sign that's going to point to there was a bear here. And then you have an interpretant or something that interprets the bear track and goes from bear track to bear, that sort of thing. So it's a triangle sort of thing, right? And so they're looking at the same thing, and they're looking, and the thing is, a triangle, like one triangle will tip, the tip will hook up to another triangle, and so you traverse this network of triangles, and that's kind of how it's set up. But I don't know. I'm dying. I'm dying to get the paper that excites me.
The speed.
Well,
can you highlight? I think he just came in. The Way's latest comment.
I was literally saying that, but I was muted. I was going to say, Speed. Did you see the most recent comment down there at the bottom?
Thank you, The Way. That is. I at least
that's
greatly
nice.
appreciate that.
That's really nice.
Thank you, The Way. We do appreciate it very much.
We do.
Also, if we're done with this video, can we take it down, please?
We could take it down.
The Speed is notorious for just like leaving things up at random and not, you know.
Yeah, it's because I want my lobster.
You know, I think it sounds like Alex Cox is like Joel 2.0.
I know exactly. Thank you.
No, he's. I think he's
Exactly
a
what I
little
was thinking.
worse. I think he's a little worse.
To be fair, Joel can pronounce words correctly. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Except when it comes to French names.
Yep.
I heard him kept saying Poincaré instead of Poincaré because nobody knows how to fucking pronounce Poincaré.
Is it?
I don't really care.
Poincaré?
Poincaré.
And they've been in French immersion school, but I have no clue.
You sound like a snob when you say that, Leo.
What, Poincaré?
I mean, there's other names that are kind of like similar to that. Like, is it Euler? Is it Euler?
It's Euler.
Is it Cauchy or is it Koji?
I don't know how to spell.
I think it's
so I can't
Cauchy.
say anything.
Cauchy.
Oh no, that's Cossi.
Cossi?
Wagner.
Cauchy?
Wagner.
Snob, Leo.
No, I just know how to pronounce things. I think everybody says, "Oh, have you heard of the Planck length?" And I'm like, "The length of a plank?" No, the Planck length. Yeah, like the length of a plank. Like I fuck with people.
Planck length.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know how pedantic I can be? I'll get guys be like, you know, oh man.
How do you pronounce Cauchy again?
Hold on.
Oh, you'd be good at trolling, Leo.
The guys will be like, they'll see a nice car and they'll walk up to the guy and be like, oh man, it's such a nice Mustang, man. What kind of motor do you got in it? If I was that person, I'd be like, it's not an electric vehicle. It doesn't have a motor in it.
Yeah, it has an engine.
Yeah, exactly. And then, oh, dude, I say that to people, they'll be like, oh, I mean, they're the same thing. It's like, actually, no, technically, they're not
Nope,
an engine
they're
and a
not.
motor. And
Oh,
this
you'd
is
be
why
fun in a
you
bar,
will
Leo.
never
You'd be
hear
so
the
fun.
term electric engine or steam motor. Because an engine and a motor are not the same thing. It's electric motor and steam engine.
Oh,
So
that's,
yeah, they can be quite pedantic.
that's a brilliant point.
Mustang, are you talking about a horse?
No.
No, nor are we talking
I'm
about
messing with
horsepower.
you.
Cauchy.
Leo's pedantic. We all knew
What?
that already.
Wait, what's the motor? What's the motor and engine distinction again? I'm
An
sorry.
engine produces its own power internally. A motor must receive its power from an external source. This is why when you turn the key in your car, your engine runs, but you have to plug in an electric motor.
Or give it a battery source. Yep.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. Okay,
Yeah,
I see
apparently
what
it's
you're
pronounced Cauchy.
Yeah, motors are electric. Engines use fuel like gas
never
or
knew
diesel
that.
or something.
I was trying to make a joke, but I failed.
Cauchy sequence.
Leo's taught me two things today, and I was actually watching his the BGV theory, that video. That was really good.
Yeah, the one that Wayland Craig continuously wants to misrepresent.
Yeah, that was good. I never really thought about it, but
Yeah, it says here, Cauchy. Augustin Louis Cauchy.
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 I don't think it's a like an S like an SH sound.
Okay, listen.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but those are just not accurate because I've used actual like names that I know how they're pronounced and it doesn't get them right. I never use those because
I'm pretty sure
the same reason that I don't use Google Translate, and everybody that I have ever known that has ever told me about anything about a language I don't know how to speak tells me don't ever use any translator anywhere on the internet. Go to a person.
The Google told me. The Google told me it's this way. I'm going.
Yeah, well, I don't really care what Google said. I care how like the actual
here we go.
Structure, the
Google,
actual syntactic
Google
structure and semantic
Google
structure
Translate
of French words.
is actually pretty good for individual words, but when you got to convey an entire sentence, what it means, then that's when the translators run into trouble.
Okay, if I want to look something up, do I go to the Google or do I go to the Leo?
Yeah,
I when I want to know how to pronounce something in a language, do I go to the internet or do I go to a person who speaks the language and has their entire fucking life?
Yeah, fuck those guys. They're snobs. They don't know.
I mean, Cauchy was what?
As long as they speak the right accent, you're fine.
I forget. Yeah, I forget what coach.
Hey, boys and girls, I want to end the stream. Can we end the stream?
I'm getting hungry.
Please. I want to go eat.
Y'all don't know how to eat, do you? You're like, God, you guys don't.
Yeah, you eat on fucking camera. I'm not.
No,
gonna...
I actually
you burp on camera too.
Yeah, because it's a thing that happens with humans.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, if we can't realize that people burp, humans burp.
I don't.
How long does it take to set up a keybind on your mic?
I don't know what.
What are you talking
You know
about?
what a keybind is?
No, never. The what?
No, I don't know. What
It's a
that
particular. It's a particular. Like you can set certain functions, like on. At least on Discord, you can do it. Like if you press a certain key, it'll trigger a certain function.
Oh, like hotkeys.
Yes.
Keyboard
Yeah.
macro.
See, I'm old school. I'm a millennial, so I know the term hotkeys.
Yes, it's also called a keybind.
Yeah, like I
Keyboard
said, though,
macro.
I'm a millennial, so I know it by like the '90s term hot
Keyboard
keys.
macro is what I started with.
And yeah, I have that. I think it's Command D. Yeah, Command D. Command D for you. And then it's Command like G for cameras. It's C.
Use it more often.
No.
I got a hotkey here for
Press
shoot it. in the
Control
head.
E right now and show my face, but I'm not going to.
I have a shoot it in the head hotkey
Well,
here. So
Hey, Speed, I got something for you for a second.
Oh,
okay.
Pronunciation.
Planck's constant.
This
Oh yes.
Planck's
constant.
Planck.
you say
Planck's constant.
Planck's constant.
It's actually pronounced Planck.
Yeah, of course.
constant.
This is what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
no.
Why would we go to fucking
Planck's
English sources for German name? The English don't know how to pronounce shit if it's not in fucking English.
Yeah,
Don't you mean
We
shite?
Americans.
Okay. If we're gonna
We
go this way,
Americans.
don't you mean shite?
Shite. Yeah.
No.
Oops. I pronounce
Americans
Linux.
don't know how to pronounce shite.
Some people pronounce Linux. I pronounce it Linux. And then somebody
Linux,
argued
Linux.
that's not how the creator pronounces it. Oh, how does he pronounce it? Linux. So we're all wrong.
No,
Oh, really?
it's either Linux
The
or
whole
Linux.
GIF thing.
Okay. What's it all
Here's
about?
what I'm talking about.
Randolph, what is it all about?
It's about.
Oh, hey, somebody's speaking Canadian, eh?
Well, I'll tell you what. There, I was walking in there. You know, it was a good snow going on outside. You know, and I just walked on in there into the diner. You know, and was like,
That's
hey,
been
you know, can I get me a cup of coffee and I'll take 2 eggs side by each and a pair of toast.
You know,
Mostly people in Newfoundland speak that way, but we hear it elsewhere.
the movie Fargo. Fargo is not in Minnesota,
Fargo.
but they actually talk like that just west of or east of Fargo. They actually talk like they do in the movie, and I've heard it, and I can't fucking believe it. It's like, so the Coens didn't make that up.
Quick
You ever
question:
been
Has
up to,
anyone had a
Wisconsin?
food lately composed of potatoes?
See, my first
Yeah, I
encounter
had
with the
potatoes.
my first encounter with the word Fargo was from a Commodore 64 game in my youth called The Sword of Fargo. It was actually quite a good game.
Tomatoes.
Okay, guys, I am
Tomatoes?
definitely going to shoot it in the head now. So
Tomato, tomato, potato.
goodbye, cruel world.
Stay
Goodbye.
curious.
We're leaving.
That's